Con alegría, con alegría.
Hey, back again. Made it back once more. You said it. Hello, favorite Twitch streamer. Hello, I have returned with Olvi Garden. Hey.
That works. Hello, hello, guys. Whoop, let me turn this down a little bit more. There we go. Hey, everybody. Got the stream running again, and it looks like I fixed it because the bitrate is good now. Hopefully there should be no more lagging.
She is back. Hello, hello again.
They are back, you mean? Yes. Yes, yes. So we are going to apologize for the roughness of earlier, and we're going to restart.
It's fine.
So then, let's go. Hello. Yeah, so sorry about the fiasco earlier, but I believe I went and watched...
No need for apologies.
I know, but yeah. I went and I watched some videos on, good Twitch stream settings and the OBS and all that, and I think I got it all figured out. It looks like I did, because now the bitrate is excellent.
It's all good, my friend.
Oh, and Seal, you said you have Olive Garden? What did you get?
Oh. Tower of Italy.
The Tower of Italy? What's that? I've never been to Olive Garden, so... because I'm not really big on Italian food.
chicken parm, lasagna and garlic noodles.
Ooh, I like chicken parm. I'm not big on Italian food, but I do love chicken parm. That stuff's good. Good stuff, good stuff. Alright, let's get back to what we were doing. Alrighty, y'all ready to get this video started and actually be able to watch it properly? Window capture. There we go.
All ready
Okay.
as ever.
Alrighty, here we go.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting episode.
Yeah, I know y'all watched like a little bit of this, but I just want to start the whole thing over again for like the VOD. Because I deleted all that corrupted footage and I'm just gonna start over, so yeah.
Of Brutal Foods. I'm your host.
You have to
Chef
sit
Ian
through the
Brutal
first part
Foods.
again, but it's okay.
A name you know, a name you can know. It's time for another taste test video that I'm very excited about because for the first time ever, it feels like we're going to taste some frozen food that's high quality, high class, and a third thing as well. Today I'm going to be taste testing food from the store known as Trader Joe's. I've had some really good success with Trader Joe's frozen.
Yeah, I've never been to a Trader Joe's. I don't even think we have one around where I live, so I've heard good things about it, though.
Food, but I did not pick anything that I've had before. So no orange chicken, although it is, I think, the most popular item in the entire store. Very good. There's also a mushroom risotto that I quite enjoy. I did not get that one as tempting as it was, but I did get a number of things. I got garlic boats, I got cheese curd, I got cheeseburger mini variety, chicken tiki samosas, chicken burrito bowl, steak and stout pies, tarte aux champignons. Don't remember what that is. Papas rellenas, shiitake, mushroom, chicky. Almost all the frozen food I got today is under $5, and I guarantee you it's going to be higher quality than a banquet meal. Okay.
Okay,
Yummy.
that steak pie actually sounds good. I always wanted to try a steak and ale pie. That sounds really good. I'm not big on pies typically, but as far as dessert pies go, I like Oreo pie and I like chocolate cream pie. And as far as like the meat pies and all, like I said, that steak and ale pie actually sounds good. I might try that one.
Let's stop talking. I've got, I think, 10 things to eat today, so I need to get going. I'll go get our first meal. Here I go. Okay, I'm gonna be eating a lot of stuff today, so let's start small and simple, just to get my feet wet here. This is the Trader Joe's mini cheeseburgers. 3 cheeseburgers. A fully cooked seasoned beef patty with cheddar cheese and burger sauce nestled between a sweet
Burger
aloha
sauce.
roll. All you gotta do is heat and serve. Well, isn't that convenient? I like the packaging. It reminds me of the White Castle burgers. I've never been to a White Castle myself, but I have had their frozen burgers, and they're...
Well, I haven't had those.
Okay.
I don't know what White Castle tastes like.
Burger sauce is maybe like a ketchup mustard blend. I'm not so sure. This was $4.49 at Trader Joe's, which I guess is fairly reasonable for 3 burgers. Is that reasonable or not? I have no idea.
In this economy,
Well,
sure.
I guess that's about what I expected. It does look like 3 cheeseburgers, although the top has slid off just a little
White
bit.
Castle is
nothing
amazing.
Too exciting. It's
Yeah?
rolled
They're so
beef,
small yet
cheese, and
addictive.
sauce. Let's cook one up. How do I do
Maybe
it?
I'll try
I
them
do
one day
think
if I
this
ever
time
come
around,
across
I'm gonna
one.
sometimes use an oven, sometimes use a microwave. For this in particular, I'm just gonna go microwave. I don't think these need to be made in the oven. I think it's gonna be about the same either way. So let me go zap one and we'll see how it is.
I love his little sound effects.
All right, well, it smells pretty good, I can't lie. It's a little weird with the microwave prep. It requested that I moisten a wet paper towel and wrap one of the burgers in it, and the burger honestly ended up being about a burger and a half because they were a little bit hard to separate, but it smells pretty good. Let's see how it looks. Oh, yum. Oh, good. Well, the bottom is nice and soggy. I love soggy bread.
See, that's why I do not cook things like that in a microwave, because it'll just make it soggy. Also, you gotta love how it pulled a good bit of the cheese off of the burger and stuck to the napkin.
It's one of my favorite things in the world when a bread is nice and soggy.
The
Smells pretty
napkin
good,
pulled half
looks
the
kind of
cheese off.
sad, I'll be honest. It doesn't look like the most appetizing thing in the world, but, you know, looks can be deceiving. I'm sure I look like a pretty nice guy, but really I'm just a chicken burrito bowl. Okay, it's hot, but I'm hungry, so... not bad. No, not bad at all. Honestly, the sweetness of the roll is very, not bad. Honestly, when I picked them up, I didn't realize it was on a sweet bun, but I don't hate it. The beef is all right, nothing to write home about, but nothing to complain about either. They definitely feel, I don't know if it's oily or greasy. Greasy? One of those.
Crunchy icy.
Okay. They're better than I remember the White Castle burgers being, but it's been a while since I've had those, to be totally fair. I can't speak to the burger sauce very much. I taste it very faintly. I'm wondering if there's pickles in it. I feel like maybe I taste a pickle, but I don't know, you look inside and it's just cheese and a little bit of sauce. It's really hard to place, but it's pretty tasty.
Flavors are mysterious
soft,
and unknowable.
mushy, a little sad, but it's not too bad for a microwave burger. I actually like it a lot. You could do much worse in the frozen burger department. I'll say that much. Let's give it a score. Today, I will be using IGN's system for how they rank their games, only I will be applying it to food. Torn between a 7 and an 8. We've got good and we've got great. Good says it's time well spent eating the food. Maybe the food lacks ambition or has some technical bumps in the road, or maybe the food is too repetitive. And then there's 8, which says that the food left me with something outstanding to remember it by, usually novel gameplay ideas for single player or multiplayer, or clever characters or writing. And I don't think that the cheeseburger really rose to that level, so I'm gonna give it a solid 7. Good. And that places it amongst other foods like FIFA 20 and World War Z. Whilst it was pretty good and I'd love to eat it during a zombie apocalypse, it wasn't much food, just the single burg. So I still hunger. I'm gonna go get the next thing. Honestly, a little bit difficult to choose what to eat next. It all looks pretty good. My freezer is nicely stocked at the moment, but I settled on Trader Joe's garlic gondolas. Very garlicky, stone oven baked bread, sprinkled with cheese. I've never eaten a boat before, but I can't lie, I'm very excited to do it. Seems like it's just gonna be a twist on cheese garlic bread. It's baked into a boat. When you're looking for the ultimate garlic bread, look no further than Trader Joe's garlic gondolas. Our supplier from Italy takes pizza dough, shapes it into gondolas, and fills them with garlic sauce and cheese before it's baked in a stone oven. It does say it's a product of Italy, and if you're gonna eat a cheese boat, why not make it Italian? Thought I could smell it through the box for a second, but that was kind of a crazy thought. I think I'm just hungry. For reference, the cheese boats were $3.99, $4 for 2 cheese garlic gondolas, which I do know is pronounced gondola, just so we're all clear.
Yeah.
Oh boy, they kind of...
He does the thing that I like to do, which is pronounce words funny for comedic effect.
look like clogs, you know, like Dutch clogs.
They do.
They do look filled to the brim with garlic and cheese, though, which is a very good sign. Okay, I'm gonna go cook them up. I'll be right back. Here we go. Well, I gotta say, it's smelling pretty good, smelling pretty cheesy, pretty garlicky. I can already picture myself sailing the 7 seas of flavor across the 7 seas of flavor. Ooh, that's some tasty garlicky bread. The bread is definitely dusty, and it's more of a flatbread than a bread. So it's a little more dense, chewy, and crunchy.
It looks like flatbread.
But it's very good.
Anybody see that Game Grumps moment where he's talking about going to Subway, dealing with the the sandwich people, you know, the people behind the counter. And he talks about his flatbread, and you want it toasted? Of course I want it to... You can't have flatbread and not toast it! It's spongy, gross, starchy-ass bread. It's made to be toasted.
It's simply bread, garlic, and cheese, as far as I can tell. And it's nice and oily, but it does feel like I wish I had something to dip it in. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say that it's bursting with flavor. It is very oily, I'll say that much. But it definitely tastes of garlic, that's for sure. There's a pretty healthy layer of cheese down there, too. That's pretty good. I still wish I had something to dip it in, but otherwise, not so bad. Now, does it compete with my all-time favorite frozen bread, the New York Bakery Texas Toasts? No, not really. No. Not so much. It doesn't have as much flavor as my favorite Texas Toast, but it's still pretty good. I'd say a little bland, but pretty good. Pretty good. I don't see this as something that I would make a meal out of, but it would make a good side to something else. Something Italian, like a spaghetti, or a ravioli, or a fettuccine, or a tortellini, or a chicken burrito bowl. Okay, I think I'm gonna also give the cheese boats a 7. I would say that it was good, it's tasty. I can't say that it's great though. I can think of better frozen garlic breads, but I think the shape is kind of cool. It looks fancier to me than a regular garlic bread, and I would happily serve it alongside something else. So, 7. Just like Yoshi's Crafted World, I would say that the cheese gondolas from Trader Joe's are just like Yoshi's Crafted World. All right, let's try something that seems like it could actually be used as a full meal. Why don't we? This is the Chicken Burrito Bowl from Trader Joe's. I'm noticing now that so far this has been Trader Joe's branded food. Is all of the food in Trader Joe's branded? It says right here, distributed and sold exclusively by Trader Joe's. And it's a product of Canada. Probably an interesting story there. That someone who was working on a video about Trader Joe's food would put research into and explain to a captivated audience. Anyway, seasoned chicken breast with brown rice, black beans, red quinoa, cheddar cheese, and corn with a Chipotle Southwest style sauce. And I can cook it in the microwave for 45 minutes, or I can cook it in the conventional oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Gee, I wonder which I'm gonna do. Oh, mamma mia, smells like we got a little fiesta going. Mamma mia. Fiesta. This smelled great coming out of the microwave. It smells a lot like a tortilla soup. It smells a lot like a tortilla soup that my mother used to make that I quite enjoyed, Winsta boy. Let's take a little pecorino here. Oh, looks and smells pretty good. Immediately, I wish I had some tortilla chips. I feel like it's just begging to be dipped and dunked, but all I've got is a fork, so that's what we're gonna use. Somebody's interested. Oh, MJ, what do we think here?
Also playing some Green Hell, an intense survival game.
Oh yeah? How is it? Oh no, his camera fell!
Oh, why does this keep happening to me?
Oh man.
What is quinoa anyway? Is it kind of like a rice?
Anyways, how is your game?
I expected the kind of chicken I get from, you know, Hungry Man.
Oh, that just looks...
No camera fell.
A real piece of chicken.
Oh, that
it's pretty good.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that just looks disgusting. I'm sorry.
It was pretty high quality. It's seasoned well. The chipotle sauce is very good. Got just like the slightest bit of kick to it. Not really enough to call it heat, but pretty darn tasty. I could go for a little more cheese. If I were to make this again, I might sprank a little bit of cheese on top. Oh yeah. For some reason, I want to say that this one's going to be more expensive than the other things we've tried, but let me see. Chicken burrito bowl is only $3.49. I feel like that's a pretty good deal, honestly. I feel like it could use a little bit more cheese. There's not as much chicken in here as I expected. I mean, there's the pieces that are in here are very good.
Oh, they never give you a good... Yeah, they never give you a good amount of meat. Meat is expensive.
And beans and quinoa to be plenty filling for a meal. Oh yeah, I do feel like my one edit is going to be the cheese. More cheese, not enough cheese on this bowl. If I had to choose between getting some tortilla chips and getting more cheese, well, I don't know, I might actually go for the chips. I could use a bit of crunch, honestly. I'm a fan. I could eat a whole bowl of this if I was, you know, not already eating so much today. High quality. I'm actually gonna give this one an 8 for great.
Wow.
I would say
How about
that it
that?
left me something outstanding to remember by, specifically the delicious chicken and the Southwest Chipotle flavor. I'd say that it's got great gameplay ideas for single or multiplayer, which places it alongside gaming greats like The Outer Worlds and Kingdom Hearts 3. It's also the first meal that I would say feels like an actual meal. I think even if I ate all 3 of the little cheeseburgers in one sitting, it would feel like an extended snack. Whereas this does feel like a meal.
Like a
Feel
filling
real
meal.
It's a big deal. Oh yeah. So next up is the Trader Joe's mini chicken tiki samosas. Since it's chicken, vegetables, and Indian spices.
Outer
wrapped
Worlds
up
is kinda mid,
crisp
and that's
flaky
coming from a
pastry.
guy
That
who
sounds pretty
originally
good.
loved
Can't say that I
it.
eat a ton of Indian food, but I
Oh.
like curry, and I have
Well, mid doesn't necessarily mean bad, so, you know.
high hopes for this. And I can't
That's
really
still-
deny
that's
that
still
one of
good.
the reasons I picked this up was the tiny little triangle shapes. They just looked very satisfying and with 3 nice points of crunch. You know, crunch inflection points. I think the tips of the triangle are gonna be
Crunch
super
inflection
tasty
points.
and super crunchy.
Crunchy.
Oh, they look big. They're bigger than I thought they'd be. They look big and plump. Smells like bag. Smells a lot like bag, actually. I'm done looking at it, done poking it. Let's get to heating it, and then I'll get to eating it. And then I'll get to beating my meat in it.
Hey, yo!
All right, all right, here we have the Trader Joe's chicken tikka samosas. They look very crispy, very crunchy, very triangular. And you guys know I'm a fan of triangular things. Everybody knows this about me. I fucking love triangles, okay? I can't help it. Now this one did come with
Wait, what did that say?
about me. I fucking love triangles.
I am unable to restrain myself around triangular objecticles. That's what that word says.
Okay, I can't help it. Now this one did come with air fryer instructions, and I've become a big fan of the air fryer. Anytime I can use it, I will use it.
Yes.
So I did use it. Okay, hopefully they're not too hot. Okay, all right.
Uh-oh.
Well, this is what the insides look like.
PLS refrain from grabbing my obejusticles.
Wrapped up in a little crunchy pastry. Little pockets of deliciousness. The spices taste really good, and they're finally masking the garlic flavor that I got from the cheese bows. The outside is so flaky and crunchy too. I really love the way they got the pastry on the outside here. They're pretty
You know,
good.
I might try those. They don't
Honestly,
look too
I kind
bad.
of forgot there was chicken in here. I don't know that I'm tasting any chicken. I'm just tasting the spices, which are pretty spicy. And I was not wrong. The corners are an inflection point of crunch. They're so crunchy and good.
Illuminati
Well,
confirmed.
obviously, I am a fan. Crunchy, chickeny, spicy. What's not to love? While still utilizing the IGN scoring system, I'm going to give the mini chicken tikka samosas an 8 for great. Did not quite reach amazing. However, if I was a big fan of Indian food, I may very well have. It's much more spicy and flavorful than I expected. And also the outside.
Well, it's
man,
Indian
those
food.
Crunchy triangles.
They love their
wish every
spice.
food that I ate was served to me in a crunchy triangle. So 8 for great for these guys here, which places them among great games like The Division 2, my favorite game. I think that one has guns in it, right? It's a little violent for me, you know? Well, all right, let's go try the next one. Let's get this is going well, right? Everything looks really delicious, because it is really delicious, and it's not so shitty like most of the stuff that I eat on the show. It's something tasty, and so you'll probably like watching and eating it.
He's running away from the
more
screen transition.
than some of my other videos that I've made about food. All right. I think this is our last small meal for the day, though there are a few biggies left in the chamber. This is the Trader Joe's Papas Reliñas, which means, it means Reliña in English. Okay, it means potato something. It definitely means potato something. I'm not sure what Reliñas is. Let me look it up. Okay, stuffed. It's stuffed potatoes.
Stuffed potato. All right.
I learned a new word today. And wouldn't you know it, these papas look quite Reliñas to me. They're crispy mashed potatoes stuffed with seasoned ground beef. So it's like a potato beef pocket. $4.99 for a box of however many there are in here.
Jamaican
These
patties.
feel very dense. Like I feel like we're gonna get a good amount inside. Oh. Well, these things are huge. Okay, I was expecting maybe 8 or 10 smaller Papas Reliñas, but these are pretty big. Can fit 2 in my hand.
Or like
I wonder
those
what
snowball
the ratio
cakes.
of Papa to Reliñas is going to be. These actually look and sound extremely tasty, so I'm gonna get to cooking, and I'll be right back. Oh my God, I'm probably the most excited that I've been all day. The entire house now smells of papas. Papas everywhere throughout the abode. You know, it doesn't look like much. They're kind of unassuming at first. They're just fried balls, but man, do they smell good. And I'm very excited to eat them. There we go, just a little bit of the stuff. That kind of shows you how much outside there is, which is good. Honestly, I wanted a little bit of stuff on the inside, but a decent amount of potato on the outside. If there was too much stuffing, I would be complaining about ratios, and we don't want that to happen on this show again. It was very potato-y. It's too good to stop eating. I just said I wouldn't complain about ratios, but here we go. Too much potato. I've gone 2-3 bites in right now, and I've had the faintest taste of the filling, which tastes very good, but I'd like to get at least a little with each bite, you know? So look at that.
Yeah.
Another bite with almost none of it in there. It's very potato-y. I wish I could tell you what the inside tastes like, but I still haven't gotten a very good taste of it. Definitely a hard turn from the Indian food. A little less spicy going on. I would say that I can maybe taste some sort of like Mexican flair in the meat, but in all honesty, there was so little meat, I really didn't get a good taste of it. Let's do a cut right down the middle, see what we got here. So that's kind of like an accurate cross-section of the papas. I don't think I'm satisfied with that amount of stuffing. But it's kind of an overload of potato and not enough of the
rellenas.
Ooh, yeah. That's some well-seasoned ground beef. Look at that. That is all mashed potato. One little nibble and half of the stuffing gone. Let's just get rid of the other half. Okay, so just for reference, this is what it looks like when you've removed all of the delicious inside stuffing. And the potatoes are still good, don't get me wrong, but they're just not good enough by themselves. Which is how I was eating most of this. Oh no, man. Honestly, as I'm eating them, I really like the fried potatoes too. And this is tough. I'm very conflicted with this one. Very difficult decision here. Honestly, the more that I use this rating system, the less of a good system it seems. You know who has a great rating system? Brutal Moose. Oh, that's a great, there's many options. There's a lot of wiggle room for where you want to put things. That's a great system. Today we're using IGN's system, so I'm gonna give these a 7.5. Somewhere in between good and great. I'm gonna say if it had more stuffing, I'd give it a full 8. We're gonna go 7.5 and move on because I have a lot more food to eat and I'm getting hung up on numbering this one. Pretty good papas, pretty good papas. Okay, well, I just feel like a giant liar. There was one more tiny food offering before we get to the big stuff. This is the Trader Joe's breaded cheddar cheese curds. I love cheese curds. I don't know if I've had very many fried cheese curds, but they sound awesome. Not a lot of interesting things going on the cover here. They look like little tater tots. What's the story on this sauce here? Do I get some sauce? Does this come with some sauce? I'd love some sauce to dip my curds in. What's a curd without a little bit of sauce?
I never had them before. What they're like.
Curds and given them the breaded and fried treatment. Yum.
What, cheese curds? I have no idea. I've never had them either. They just sound gross, but some people like them.
Yep, they look like little tater tots. Ooh, I'm gonna have to stop myself from eating too many. They do not come with a sauce, but I might have a sauce that I can provide. Beating my meat in it. Though I can't really tell if I've gone nose blind to the fried stuff because of the chicken triangles and the fried papas. They smell good, but a little faint, like not as strong as I expected.
I-O again.
And they look probably as you expected. They look like little fried pieces of cheese. I did provide myself my own dip. Today I'm using Subway's garlic aioli. You can buy a bottle of it in the store. It will last a very long time because a little goes a long way. It is quite garlicky. Also, before I dig in, I forgot to check the price here. Cheese curds breaded che is $4.99. So we're looking at the same price as the papas, though you get a lot more. You only get 4 papas. As large as they are, it does feel like you get more bang for your buck in the cheese curds, assuming, of course, that they're actually good. So let's find that out. Now these are a tasty snack. I can't say they're very squeaky, as a cheese curd usually is, but I think that's because they're hot and a little gooey. You know, actually, I don't like it with the aioli. I love the aioli. On other things, I can't recommend it with the cheese curds. Tastes weird. The curds, though, these are delicious. People keep telling me I need to go to Culver's, I think it is. They have some fried cheese curds. I've never been before. There's not one super close to me. But if they're anything like this, I should check it out. I like these. There's a decent amount of breading, so it's not too thin. It does taste like a nice crispy fried cheese. Not much more to say about it other than that it's exactly what I expected in a good way. Oh my God. Don't let me eat the whole plate. I still have so much more food. It's cheese, it's fried, it's got chicken burrito bowl. All right, big fan of these. Not too much to say about them. They are very simple. It's fried cheese, but it's a great version of fried cheese. Okay, I've decided I'm going to give these cheese curds the first 9 of the day. Amazing. I enthusiastically recommend you add these curds to your to-play list. If I call a food amazing, that means something about it seriously impressed me. Whether it's an inspired new idea or an exceptional take on an old one, we expect to look back on it as one of the highlights of its time and genre. And I would agree. I think
Do you like WWE?
Frozen fried cheese curds stand alone on the top of
I don't really watch it so much anymore, but I used to be really into it when I was a teenager.
And they rank among great titles like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Batman Arkham Knight. All right, I'm filling up, so come on. I gotta pound the food before I can't fit any more in me. This is the Trader Joe's Tarte Ox Champignons, a French-style flatbread.
Who do you like in WWE?
Of cheeses. Looks pretty good.
Well, like I said, I don't watch it so much anymore, so I don't know exactly any of the new people, but I know my favorite wrestler of all time is Rob Van Dam.
Looks pretty good. Overall, I'd say it looks pretty good. You might be tempted to call it a pizza, and that would be okay. Well, gee, thanks, box. Thank you. I feel valid. But its flavors are
Thanks
so
for validating
transcendent,
me.
its texture so smooth, we think it defies categorization. Serve it as an appetizer or pair it with a salad for an unforgettable dinner in just minutes. The results? Delicious.
Delicio.
Delicchio?
Pretentious pizza.
It's
Got it.
Deliscos. It's Delicchio.
Pretentious
oh,
pizza.
yum yum. Well, it does look like it's gonna be a pretty thin offering.
I mean, it's
with minimal
French.
sauce,
What did you
which is
expect?
how I like my flatbreads. It's how I like my pizza. It's gonna be good.
There
If
went
it's a
any
pizza or a
potential
flatbread,
French
what
viewers.
The fuck ever, it looks like it's gonna be good. I'm sorry. It looks like it's gonna be Delicio. Delicio. One of those has to be right, and I really hope it's Delicio. All right, that looks pretty schmancy, honestly. A lot more going on than I expected. It looks very involved. You got the mushrooms there. You got the cheeses there.
I think he
guess
summoned
this is
an
the
angel
sauce,
with that
the white
phrase LOL.
shit on the side here. Is that the sauce? Oh, yeah. How much did this cost? All right, so the tarte aux champignons was $4.79, which is the same price as a lot of these offerings. But at the same time, I could get so many disgusting banquet Salisbury steaks for that price. So it's a tough call. Don't trust a Joe. Never trust a Joe. What's my computer doing back there? Was it being weird? It's supposed to be showing a green screen, but was it being strange? Okay, all right, I'm gonna go cook
blue
this thing,
screened on you.
and then I'll be back.
I mean, yeah, that just looks like a pizza to me.
Oh man, I am feeling so full right now. It should be fine though. It should be fine. All right, well, it smells very mushroomy, that's for sure. Wish I'd made some more roomy for the mushroomy, but I did eat a lot of cheese curds.
Like a white
just
sauce
little bit
pizza.
ago. And you know, I
Yeah.
am glad that they gave me permission to call this a pizza because I do feel like calling it as such. Let me give it a little sniff. You know, what's most interesting is the crust. The crust is the crust. It looks almost like puff pastry, like the stuff the triangles was made of, but rolled in on itself. I don't really know. I don't know. Let me adjust. Let me adjust my expectations a little bit.
I swear,
Definitely does not
we need to start putting a counter for how many times he knocks his camera over into his plate.
taste as
That's like the third
expected,
time
that's
this
for sure.
video.
I don't really like that. I do like that it's very mushroomy. I love mushrooms, but I don't know. I don't really like the crust, and I don't really like the sauce, and there is a lot of sauce. It's way saucier than I was expecting. I don't know if I can really illustrate just how wet this is, but it's the thinnest crust you could possibly have, and everything on top of it is very liquidy and runny,
Ew.
and I'm not into that. It's okay. I mean, I can feel myself kind of coming
it's
around to it as I
alright.
eat it. At the same time, I don't want more. I really wish the crust was the crust. Less saucy, more cheesy. What is extravagant mental cheese sauce? What does a mental mean? It's mental, I'll give it that much. It's not for me. The mushroom taste is pretty good. The cheese taste, I don't know if it's just I don't like the kind of cheese on here or what. Mostly though, my complaints lie in the crust and the sauce. Too much sauce, not enough crust. I wish instead of like a runny, soupy sauce, it was more of a melted cheese experience. But it's just so wet. It's so wet.
I
and
am
there's
back
not
in.
Ooh, you spooked me.
Stream.
It's just got a stinky taste and not in the good way. I'm gonna give it a 4 for bad. For one reason or another, this made me wish
Sorry.
I'd never eaten it. Even
You're
if there's
okay.
a good idea or two in here somewhere, they're buried under so much sauce that I don't really care. So the Trader Joe's Tarte au Champagnon will sit beside games like WWE 2K20, Medal of Honor, Warfighter, The Legend of Korra. I don't know any of these games. Where's Roller Coaster Tycoon
I
on
am
here?
still
Where's
your
Chevy?
number one
All right, with that
fan.
out of the way, I
Well,
think
that's
there's
good to
only
know.
two things left, and both have rather interesting cooking situations. One of them must be prepared in a skillet,
Glad I haven't
and the other
given you
needs
any
about
reason
an hour
to,
to
like,
cook.
be disappointed
so I
in
think
me
I'm gonna
yet.
go for the skillet one first, and then we'll finish her off with the fancy steak pies. All right, it's time
Oh
for
my.
the Trader Joe's shiitake
I am
mushroom
not.
chicken. I love mushroom chicken. It's one of my favorite things
That's
from
good to
Panda
hear.
E, so I will be comparing the two as
You're
I
good in my
consume.
book.
And
Oh,
based
well, I'm
on the
glad.
packaging, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I still think Trader Joe's has a pretty solid track record of delivering
Should
delicious
take
frozen
mushrooms.
food, even though the last one was not really my cup of
It's
joe.
shiitake,
mushroom
nati
chicken.
seal.
A savory dish of marinated chicken, shiitake mushrooms, edamame, and green beans in ginger soy sauce. Do I
Anyone ever watch that first Spy Kids movie? When she,
3.
when she says, "Oh shit, taki mushrooms."
like ginger soy sauce? I'm not sure. I guess we're gonna find out. As far as price goes, this is one of the more expensive meals, coming in at $5.99, but I think it's gotta be for the portion size. It comes in a pretty big bag. This looks like it's meant to feed 2, maybe 3 people. Now there is only one way to prepare this, and I can't say that I'm super excited about it. I'm not saying that it's particularly difficult. When it comes to my frozen meals, the convenience and the ease of preparation is one of the things I'm factoring into the equation.
It just says, "I am
so
lazy."
We gotta defrost the sauce packet in a bowl of warm water, and then we gotta microwave the chicken. What the fuck does this mean? Place chicken on a microwave-safe dish, cover with plastic. What kind of plastic? That's
They probably mean like saran wrap. Maybe? I don't know. Can you put saran wrap in the microwave?
confusing.
I think you can.
But you are supposed to heat the chicken and the vegetable pouch in the microwave to defrost it, and then you cook it all together in the stovetop stir fry. It's still
Oh, that's a lot like those little stir fry Asian sauce chicken bits that I get. Like orange chicken, General Tso's chicken, stuff like that. Yeah, that's basically what you have to do. You have to defrost the sauce, and I think putting it with a wet towel in the microwave is optional. I know I have to do that with my pot stickers that I buy, but yeah, you just cook it up, you pan fry them, and then you cover them in the sauce.
supposed to take under 10 minutes to prepare, so it shouldn't be the end of the world, but it is a mild inconvenience, so for me, that is the end of the world. My world has ended now. But you know, I love you guys, or I mildly enjoy the concept of you at the very least, so I will prepare this for your viewing pleasure. Don't forget that I've done this for you, all right? Don't forget that I've used a pan not because I wanted to, but for you guys at home. And that's just how much I like you. All right? All right. See you later. Here I go.
Maybe I like you. Maybe I like you a lot.
All right, well, it's done. The cooking process was not as arduous as I expected. It all came together pretty easily. It did smell pretty good, and there was enough food to divide it into 2 bowls, so I am not responsible for the entire meal. It does feel like they went a little heavy with the edamame and green bean and a little light on the mushrooms, but the mushrooms that are in here do look very good. Let's give a chicken a little taste and hope that it is heated through. Pretty good. Let's try one of these mushrooms here. Mushrooms also pretty good. Much better than the mushroom pizza I just had, that's for sure. The beans are a little raw. The beans could have used a little more time on the stove, I think. The sauce is all right. I wasn't sure how I'd like the sauce, but it's not bad. Sorry, I got distracted with my phone for a second. It's just so boring that I got a little distracted there. It's not bad.
Well, damn.
It's not bad. Honestly, for a frozen stir fry, it's pretty good. The chicken is very tender. I really like the mushrooms. I can't say that I care much for the green beans. The edamame's all right. I'm feeling so full. Just so full of frozen shit. Oh my God. I'm gonna give the Trader Joe's shiitake mushroom chicken a 5 for mediocre. That's kind of, you know, bland, unremarkable, and I will mostly forget about it a day after I finish playing. I mean, a mediocre meal is not something you should spend your time or your money on if you consider either to be precious, but they'll pass the time if you have nothing better to eat. So the shiitake mushroom chicken would be sat alongside games like Crackdown 3 and Fallout 76. Well, that doesn't sound too good. It doesn't sound too good. All right, so unless I'm mistaken, this is our final meal of the day. Trader Joe's steak and stout pies. Now, personally, I love a steak. I'm not sure about a stout, and I'm honestly not a huge fan of pies, but I still have high expectations for this.
Yeah, this
I don't
is
know
the
that
thing
I've
I
ever
wanted
had
to try.
a meat pie before, but when I think of them, I immediately think of a chicken burrito bowl. I was gonna say it looks appetizing, but I don't know. It kind of looks like a beef stew inside of a pie, and I don't know. I'm not crazy about beef stew. It's okay. Don't know that I want it in a pie. Where does the stout come in? Is stout not like a beer or something? What is stout? Oh, that's a big old pie. That is considerably larger than I was expecting. That fills up the whole palm there. I would describe this as a softball-sized pie. It's pretty big, and you know, it looks pretty nice, pretty cylindrical, as I would expect based on the cover. If I'm not mistaken, this is the most expensive thing I got at Trader Joe's, clocking in at $7.49.
Well, it is steak. Steak is expensive.
Heat it up. Dude, I am so stupid. I was like, I've never had a meat pie before. Pot pies count, right? Chicken pot pie? Marie Calendar?
Pot pies count.
That counts as a meat pie.
Yeah.
Come on. Well, it smells a lot like a chicken pot pie.
Brain fart.
Out of the oven. Which again, I should have mentioned in the intro because it is the only type of meat pie I've had before, and I quite enjoy them. But for some reason, I just didn't think about it. So that's the kind of quality commentary that keeps people crawling back to brutal food. What I found kind of interesting was that this is, it's got a lid. I tried to pick it up off of the baking sheet, but this little lid was coming loose. Oh, what's in there? That looks nice. Okay, let's put it back. I guess you could eat it as a soup if you wanted to. You could eat it as a bread bowl soup. Okay, it's probably still a little hot, but I'm gonna crack into it anyway. It smells very good. It smells mostly of pastry, but I smell some savory scents in there as well. Ooh, yeah, I smell that stout gravy. Look at it leaking all over the place. Everybody loves a good leaky pie. Yeah, it's kind of like a stew. I almost wish I had a spoon. Look pretty good. The pastry is very nice. They didn't skimp on the pastry. This thing is completely collapsing though. It's just kind of like a beef stew in an edible cup. Very good, very savory. Looks like we got some carrots, maybe some taters in there.
Some taters.
MJ is activated. Hey, MJ.
MJ has activated.
You want to leave? But I mean the stout pie. Give me an IGN rating, MJ. How's the video turning out? All right.
1.
Okay, back to doing my job. Just eating fucking frozen food. What a life, dude. There's a flavor in there I don't enjoy. It's got to be one of the herbs, or perhaps the gravy. It's falling apart for one. Yeah, what is stout gravy? Is that what I don't love in it? Are there mushrooms in here? Oh, there's mushrooms in here. Hell yeah. I'm just gonna start destroying it. This is actually very tasty. I know I'm complaining about some slight flavor I don't like, but as a whole, very good and very filling. I will say though that it feels like I only got one piece of steak. Is this a steak? Some of the steak pieces are so small, it's easy to confuse them for a mushroom or some other, is that a celery?
Ooh, celery.
Honestly, it's pretty tasty. I might eat the whole thing. Definitely reminds me of a Marie Calendar, but a beef stew variety. A nice rustic inside flavor. The outside pastry is not too sweet, but it's very good. But I feel like it's tasty, it's warm. I really like the outside crust. I just wish there were more pieces of beef and more mushrooms. You get a lot of the filler stuff. It also definitely does feel higher quality than a lot of the other stuff I tried today, just in presentation and what you got going on, nisms. What is it, $8 for 2 of these? $7.50? I don't think that's too bad. Okay, does it deserve a 10? Highest recommendation? I don't think so. I don't think that I'm being unreasonable when I say that there should be more steak in the steak stout pies.
Yeah.
So maybe a 9? Didn't I give something else a 9? What else got a 9? It must have been the cheese curds. Am I really gonna rank this alongside the cheese curds? I don't think this rating system is working out, dude. I'm gonna give this a 9. So the steak stout pie will sit alongside things like Resident Evil 2.
Hell
and
yeah.
Forza Horizon 4. So if you like beef stew or pot pies or both, I think you should give it a pot try. Give this pot pie a hot try.
Had
Can you
to
see
do a big stretch.
what all this food is doing to me, by the way? Look at this shit. And so concludes
Dude, I wish I was
our
as thin
Trader
as you.
Joe's
Hush up.
Frozen Feast. With this video, if I could pass on 3 bits of knowledge to you, I think it would be a huge success. Number 1, Trader Joe's is a great place to go for frozen food. Number 2, 10 frozen items is too much for a single food video. It's a lot of food, it's a lot to eat, and it's all frozen, so it's not gonna make you feel healthy. And number 3, this video was sponsored by
I was waiting for you. It is my dinner time. I need your food. Produce right from the farm. Sustainably sourced ingredients at your door. So many meal choices, 50 each week. They're customizable. Build your own feed.
LOL what?
That's his ad. His sponsor ad.
Reducing all my stress, I'm ready to dine.
Open the box and cook the food. Chef-crafted recipes, all for you.
Pick your meals. Food come to you. Chew the food. Ingest food too. This is what HelloFresh help you do. HelloFresh days. HelloFresh nights. HelloFresh morning.
More like HelloFresh.
All right.
More like hella fresh.
There's no commitments, so we'll take our time. HelloFresh. Enjoy a box of delight. HelloFresh. Oh, HelloFresh.
Get
Well,
up
I
to
like
10
his-
free meals and free shipping on your first box at HelloFresh.com with code BrutalMoose10FM. Free meals applied at discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals and free shipping. Just go to HelloFresh.com with code BrutalMoose10FM.
I like his black chef outfit.
Welcome back, everyone.
Whoa.
Until I've got some
Pause,
r/entitled
pause,
parents to
pause,
do well.
pause,
As
pause.
per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving
Pause, you biatch. Dang, I must have hit pause like 5 times. Ugh. Alright. Oh, here's one.
The Congo Basin holds its secrets close. Here, in one of Earth's last true wildernesses,
This is Thought Potato. 2 creatures, 1 legend, the biology of the Mokele Mbembe, which is an African cryptid.
the line between legend and reality grows thin, obscured by morning mist and dense canopy. For centuries, tales have emerged from these waterways of something extraordinary, a creature of impossible size that has eluded scientific documentation despite countless expeditions seeking to prove its existence. It's been called the Mokele Bembe. I've investigated many creatures that blur the line between myth and reality, but something about these waters felt different. The dense canopy above creates a permanent twilight below, where ancient rivers wind through terrain that hasn't changed for eons. Here, the people don't speak of monsters in whispers or tales. They describe their encounters with the calm certainty of those who have learned to share their home with something extraordinary. What we discovered in those swamps would reshape our understanding of what might still exist in Earth's unexplored regions. And perhaps whether some mysteries are better left undisturbed. The Congo Basin is a vast expanse of unexplored wilderness that could swallow entire nations. Even today, new species are discovered here with
The
startling
Congo,
regularity.
yeah.
But at the time, my team and I weren't searching for something new, but something supposedly very old, a creature that had been documented, albeit sparsely, for nearly 2 centuries. And if the legends were true, the creature was far older than that. The idea of a living dinosaur in this region took hold in the 1920s when sensational headlines compared local accounts to sauropod dinosaurs like the Brontosaurus. Western explorers latched onto the idea of finding a prehistoric behemoth alive and well in Central Africa, but in doing so, they glossed over certain details that didn't align with their dinosaur-centric theories, potentially missing clues that the truth was far stranger and more nuanced than a single ancient surviving species. Others have dismissed the accounts entirely, equally problematic given the wealth of relatively consistent local knowledge spanning generations. In fact, the earliest Western record dates back to 1776, when missionaries found colossal footprints, each 3 feet in circumference, trailing into murky waters. Over the centuries, colonial officials and local hunters alike described a huge creature lurking in the swamps, yet the details conflicted. One report might claim a towering, long-necked herbivore, and another might speak of a lethal aquatic predator that dragged its victims beneath the surface. I must admit that when our
VTR.
department first received reports from the region, I was skeptical.
Oh, hey, Iweeb.
Even in
What's
general,
up?
the Congo has become something of a lightning rod for sensational claims. Even so, we made the journey, and we were met by our appointed guide Emmanuel at a small airstrip near the Likawala swamps. Over the next week, he would serve as our interpreter as we conducted interviews. We came to see that while the locals' accounts were diverse, they did appear to reveal a pattern. Certain hunters who worked at the riverbank spoke of a peaceful giant that fed on vegetation, but those who often ventured into the deeper channels told different tales of immense shadows beneath the water, something that, if it chose, could snap a fishing boat in half. It was with these images swirling in our minds that we finally embarked on our expedition proper, in traditional dugout canoes. And as we pushed deeper into the swamps, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The Congo Basin contains over 500 million acres of wilderness. Entire ecosystems exist here that have never been properly documented. Even new species of large primates were still being discovered. What else might live here in isolation, entirely hidden in these unexplored waterways? It was then that a sudden movement from Emmanuel caught my attention. He had stopped paddling, his eyes fixed on something along the muddy bank. I followed his gaze and saw what had given him pause: a series of distinctive impressions leading into the water. The tracks were fresh, the mud still settling in places where water had seeped into the depressions. As we carefully maneuvered our canoe closer, I could see that they were quite unlike anything I'd seen before. Whatever had left them was obviously quite large, but the impressions themselves were distributed in an odd pattern that didn't immediately resolve itself in my mind. As the mists of the morning rolled across the calm waters all around us, a tingle ran up my spine, and I realized even then that we were at the verge of a new discovery. Whatever had left these tracks was no mythical beast, but nor was it a living fossil, and yet it had managed to remain hidden from science for centuries. But as I would soon discover, it wasn't the only thing hiding in these waters. You know, after spending weeks investigating these dark corners of the earth, sometimes I need to decompress with something completely different. And that's
Oh, here comes the sponsor ad.
precisely why I'm excited to tell you about World of Warships, the gracious sponsor of today's video. World of Warships is a free-to-play naval combat game that hits that perfect sweet spot between action and strategy. You command these incredibly detailed warships in team battles, each one recreated from actual historical blueprints. I was blown away by the attention to detail just in general, from the way the water moves and reflects light to how the weather can completely change the dynamics of a battle. There are 4 different types of ship you can command: destroyers, battleships, cruisers, and aircraft carriers. And for those who long to heed the call of the depths, you can even dive in with their new class of submarines. Each one plays completely differently, which keeps things interesting. Personally, I prefer destroyers. There's something satisfying about sneaking up and launching surprise torpedo attacks on unsuspecting battleships. And World of
Surprise,
Warships is
motherfucker.
constantly adding new content, from ships and game modes to special events. Whether you prefer to play as a lone wolf or team up with friends in a division, there's always something new to try when you take a break. If you want to check out World of Warships for yourself, you can use code BRAVO when you sign up through the link in the description. New players will get 7 days of premium time, 1.5 million credits, 500 doubloons, and after 10 battles, you can choose one of several premium warships to add to your fleet. With over 500 ships across 10 nations and a really active community, there's tons to explore, and it's available on consoles too. But for now, let's return to the land, where we'll continue our investigation within the darkness of the trees. Our true investigation began along the outskirts of the swamp, where we rose before dawn and lingered past dusk, hoping
What
to catch
game?
any sign of movement in the dim light.
He
The
said
air was
World
thick
of
with humidity
Warships.
and the calls of unseen creatures, a constant reminder that we were intruders in a land that seemed frozen in time. The tracks we had discovered led us to clearings where more signs of large animal activity were unmistakable. We observed large swaths of stripped vegetation and always accompanied by those same distinctive prints. I found myself craning my neck just to see how high the leaves had been stripped, nearly 20 feet above the forest floor. The trunks bore deep gouges left by something of immense force, and no known creature in the region could achieve that reach, not even elephants. Soon, however, our documentation of these land-based signs were interrupted by new reports from local fishermen. Several had abandoned their usual fishing grounds in the deeper channels, speaking of nets torn apart with clean, powerful bites. At first, we dismissed these accounts as peripheral to our investigation. The creature we were tracking, after all, seemed to have little direct interest in the waterways, instead appearing to prefer to move between forest clearings where it could access high vegetation. But at about 3 weeks into our observations, we heard a massive disturbance in the nearby channel. Not the typical splash of a hippo or crocodile, which to some extent had begun to fade into the background of our studies, but something that displaced an enormous volume of water. We rushed toward the sound, but by the time we arrived, all that remained were ripples and large swells lapping at the shoreline. And nearby, the partial remains of what appeared to be a young forest buffalo, its body cleanly severed. I felt then the first stirrings of an unsettling realization. Could the same legend that described a gentle giant also contain a fearsome killer? The answer wouldn't come easily or quickly. Our first real breakthrough came from a single, unexpected clue. While surveying another feeding site, I noticed what looked like reptilian scales caught in the bark of a fallen tree, each one nearly the size of my palm. At first glance, this seemed to confirm the traditional tales of a dinosaur-like beast, but detailed inspection revealed that surprisingly, these weren't scales at all, at least not in the traditional sense, but modified hairs, compressed and hardened into overlapping plates. Though their size was certainly unprecedented, their internal structure and composition was unmistakable. It was only a few days later, in the twilight of early morning, that we would finally discover what had left them. My team and I had constructed a pattern based on the half-eaten foliage and those scattered scales, and we staked out a clearing just before dawn. For several hours, it was like any other morning. But then, without warning, branches high above us began to sway, as though some colossal weight were moving among them. But this was no dinosaur, nor even a reptile, but very clearly a mammal. The creature before us left no room for doubt. We were observing a new species of pangolin, though one of extraordinary size. For now, I have designated it Potamanus
Really, a
giganteus.
giant pangolin?
Initial examination confirmed what those modified scales had suggested. While retaining the fundamental characteristics of the family Manatee, the keratinous scales, elongated snout, and powerful limbs, Potamanus giganteus, of course, differs greatly in terms of scale. The largest living pangolin, the aptly named giant pangolin, rarely exceeds 4 feet in length, yet our specimens reach up to 15 feet from snout to tail. Based on our photographic analysis and track measurements,
I wanna
estimate
pet
their
it.
weight at approximately 2,000
Well,
pounds.
pangolins, I think,
comparable
are
to a
pretty
small African
docile.
elephant. It goes without saying that supporting this extraordinary mass required fundamental changes to the pangolin body plan. Most notably, the limb bones have become
Same.
distinctly columnar, more reminiscent of elephants than typical pangolins. Limited examination of skeletal remains we would discover later revealed dramatically increased bone density and complex internal structures
Goth, do
that
you want
apparently
to
house
pet it?
extensive blood vessel and nerve networks.
Yeah, sure.
Additionally,
Pangolins
the
are
articular
adorable.
surfaces of the joints, especially in the ankles and knees, are notably broader than in other pangolins, effectively distributing the creature's massive weight. even when the animal reaches upward to feed, which
I'm one of
transfers
those
thousands of
people who
pounds of
loves
pressure
ancient
into its hind
creatures
limbs.
back in
Yet
my
despite
days.
its imposing size,
Like you.
Giganteus's movements are
Oh,
surprisingly
shush.
graceful, moving efficiently through the thick jungle foliage,
uh,
often leaving
oh
little
yeah, I
trace of
find
its
this stuff
passing other
fascinating
than in
too.
its feeding grounds. And like all pangolins, Giganteus is covered in unique plate-like structures formed from modified hairs and composed primarily of keratin. However, rather than the comprehensive armor seen in modern pangolins, where scales overlap like plate mail across its entire
Cute.
body, Giganteus
Yee.
exhibits heavy scaling primarily along its dorsal surface, with reduced coverage along its flanks and limbs, and almost none on its ventral surface. The scales themselves, while fewer in number, are proportionally massive, reaching up to 10 inches in diameter. Each appears to be deeply anchored in thick dermal layers by extensive collagen networks, allowing for both structural integrity and the flexibility needed for movement. It would seem that this reduction in overall armor coverage serves multiple purposes. For example, a creature of this size has little need to armor itself from predators. Instead, its two primary challenges would be heat regulation and weight management. The former point seems to be addressed by specialized folds of skin between the scales, particularly around the neck and limb joints, which contain dense collections of blood vessels. Indeed, by reducing its ancestral armor in favor of more efficient heat management, Giganteus was able to achieve and maintain its remarkable size. At this point, my valued listener, the question was simple. What could drive such a momentous shift from the ancestral, much smaller pangolin form to what we now saw before us? Though much more study will be needed to know for certain, it is my belief that at some point, this lineage found itself relatively isolated. As climate fluctuations began altering the African landscape, certain populations adapted in unique forest refugia, pockets of dense vegetation where high canopy food sources remained abundant year-round. In these isolated habitats, this lineage assumed a niche with little competition for upper canopy resources. Traditional pangolin adaptations for insect feeding, the long, sticky tongue, specialized stomach, and powerful digging limbs, would have initially served these populations well enough. But in an environment where higher calories were available in the form of leaves and fruits, any ability to access these resources would have provided a significant advantage. Over time, those individuals capable of reaching and processing plant matter began to dominate these isolated populations. And indeed, other than its size, this shift from the insectivorous diet of its relatives is perhaps its most impressive change. We were able to ascertain that while Giganteus retained the muscular walls typical of pangolin digestive systems, the stomach had developed distinct regions specialized for plant digestion, with extensive folding and increased surface area when compared to insectivorous pangolins, and distinct areas for mechanical and chemical breakdown of plant matter. The small intestine exhibited elongated villi and more numerous microfolds, adaptations that likely increased the retention time of plant material and enhanced their nutrient absorption. Furthermore, tissue samples showed mitochondrial densities more characteristic of large herbivores than insectivores, a fundamental shift in how these creatures process energy, and which ultimately has facilitated their immense size. Unlike their smaller relatives, these giants appear to be primarily solitary, with territory spanning several square kilometers. Based on track patterns and feeding site distribution across the basin, we estimate that fewer than 200 individuals remain in these isolated forests. With Giganteus relatively well documented, I expected our work in the region would begin to draw to a close, but even then something continued to nag at me. While our peaceful browser explained many elements of the Mokele Bembe legend, it couldn't account for the more troubling reports and certain first-hand oddities that we'd encountered. Even so, the discovery and documentation of Giganteus did help to explain many elements of the local legends that had drawn us to the region. The immense tracts described by those early missionaries, the reports of a long-necked creature able to reach into the highest branches, the time frame of most sightings often at dusk and dawn, all could be attributed to this remarkable pangolin species. Some artwork allegedly from the region even seemed to be a nearly exact representation of this very creature. But as mentioned, during our historical research, we had encountered other accounts that didn't quite fit this picture. Tales of predation unlike anything the local crocodiles or hippos were known to attempt. Stories of fishing boats damaged by powerful,
Whoa, look at that
precise
thing's
bites.
teeth.
And the image of that forest buffalo, its body clearly severed, never left my mind. Slowly, new evidence began to reveal itself. The first appeared early one morning at a fishing camp. A dugout canoe pulled from the water, its hull punctured in a distinctive pattern. I had documented damage from hippopotamus attacks before, chaotic crushing and splintering. This was different. This was why local reports had seemed at times to be inconsistent. There was a distinct possibility that the legend of the Mokele Bembe had not arisen due to a single unknown species, but two. But documenting an aquatic predator of this likely size would require a fundamentally
Hippos
different
are
approach.
perfect war
We relocated
beasts.
our base of operations to a
Yeah,
series of
agree.
platforms over one of the deeper channels, installing a network of infrared cameras and pressure sensors, along with hydrophones capable of detecting the subtlest underwater movements. For 3 nights, our recordings captured little more than typical nocturnal sounds: crocodiles slipping into the water, distant splashes of fish. On the 4th night, however, a massive
Hippo are
form leaped to the
beautiful.
surface. At first, it
Yes, but
resembled a
very
smooth
dangerous.
boulder rising from the depths, until we realized that it was an enormous shell, at least 9 feet across. Then it moved, and in that moment we knew we had found our monster. What we observed that night was, shockingly, a soft-shelled turtle of unprecedented proportions, which I have named Gigantrionyx vorax. As mentioned previously, I estimate that the specimen before us that night measured roughly 9 feet across its carapace, with a total body length approaching 12 feet. The massive
Oh, wow.
skull, approximately 2 feet in length, even bore the distinctive tubular snout characteristic of the family Trionychidae. And yet, despite its enormous size, the creature moved silently, each movement precisely controlled as it oriented itself in the channel. When it turned, the displacement of water was so significant that our observation platform swayed. Unfortunately, my team and I were so stunned by this creature's sudden appearance that we scarcely had time to react. The creature itself must have sensed something, for just as quickly as it appeared, it sank once more beneath the surface and retreated, barely leaving a ripple in its wake. We
So
searched for
you have
several
no
more
proof.
nights to no avail, but I was not content to leave without an opportunity to examine this creature in full. We
It's
expanded
Johnny
our
Cage
search,
and
stretching our
Kenshi.
resources thin, and then, at long last, we came upon another vorax specimen. The massive turtle lay beached in a shallow tributary, clearly deceased. Judging by the deep laceration across its shell and the signs of infection along its edges, it had likely succumbed to injuries sustained in an earlier confrontation. The carcass was still fresh, a rarity in these warm, acidic waters where scavengers and rapid decomposition means that most remains vanish within a few days. Aware of how brief this opportunity would be, we swiftly collected measurements and tissue samples, determined to learn all we could before nature reclaimed the evidence. The specimen was notably smaller than the one we'd glimpsed previously, though still unprecedented among its relatives. To date, the largest known soft-shelled turtle, the Yangtze giant, is known to reach shell lengths of just over 40 inches. The shell of this specimen measured 7.8 feet in length, with a total body length approaching 10 feet. Its
Wow.
skull structure was far more robust than typical soft shells, with reinforced attachment points for jaw muscles that must have generated extraordinary bite force. The head itself was massive, approximately 16 inches in length. And though vorax clearly shared the same basic body plan of other soft-shelled turtles, the specimen's entire morphology indicated a level of predatory specialization far beyond any known species. The shell itself, while exhibiting the typical leathery texture of softshells, was notably thicker and more heavily reinforced, rendering the term softshell somewhat misleading. The underlying bone structure was markedly thinner than in comparison to other softshells, with more pronounced buttressing between the carapace and plastron, and denser connective tissue throughout. All of these reinforcements appear to be necessary adaptations to support the creature's massive size. As with Giganteus, the question of how this creature attained such proportions has yet to be fully answered. Still, I hypothesize that at some point in its history, this lineage diverged from its smaller relatives, likely in response to the rich hunting opportunities these channels provided. The carapace, while retaining the characteristic flattened form, developed more pronounced hydrodynamic contouring, with a leading edge that likely reduces water resistance during high-speed attacks. The limbs became extraordinarily powerful, with massive muscle attachments and elongated digits with extensive webbing between. In the forelimbs, enlarged swimming muscles provide exceptional power and control, likely crucial for maintaining position, especially while striking onto the shore during ambush attacks. And indeed, this species' increase in size appears to have dramatically expanded its predatory capabilities. While all softshell turtles can be aggressive predators, vorax's sheer size allows it to target prey far larger than any other species would attempt. The bodies of water in the Congo Basin apparently provided the perfect conditions for a large ambush predator to arise: abundant prey, minimal competition, and countless hidden approaches from which to strike. And this is where the legend of the Mokele Bembe began to make even more sense. Vorax's jaw structure clearly indicates that it is capable of immense crushing power, with the aforementioned enlarged attachment points for temporal muscles, as well as a heavily reinforced skull and sharpened beak thickened at key points of potential stress. This certainly helps explain the reports of boats being splintered from below. And this powerful bite was made even more effective by this creature's extraordinary neck structure. While all softshell turtles possess relatively long necks, Vorax's cervical vertebrae showed more pronounced muscle attachment points and interlocking joints that apparently enhance both striking speed and power, much like the spring-loaded strike of a snapping turtle, but scaled to admittedly intimidating proportions. Given the vastness of these waterways and the creature's elusive nature, I can only theorize about population numbers. The channels and deep pools of the Likawala could potentially support a significant population, but confirming this would require far more extensive surveillance than our brief window of study allowed. What we did observe suggests that they are most active during twilight hours, when reduced visibility gives them maximum advantage in ambush hunting. Ultimately, while Gigantrionyx vorax and Podomanus giganteus bear little resemblance to one another, each has developed morphological traits that do parallel those of certain extinct megafauna, and observers unfamiliar with the region's extant fauna might easily fuse elements of both species into a singular, long-necked, giant-bodied beast. The pangolin's towering stance and elevated cervical region could be interpreted as a sauropod neck, whereas the turtle's extended neck and distinct shell certainly evoke the image of a prehistoric reptile. These may be sufficient to explain how centuries of local knowledge and sporadic Western expeditions converged into the legend of the Mokele Bembe. In truth, the local people had long recognized them as two separate entities, yet once filtered through the lens of colonial explorers, eager to discover living dinosaurs, these scattered sightings merged into a single legend. It's not difficult to envision how the waterborne sightings of an immense shell might seamlessly mesh with glimpses of an upright form wading along the swamp, eventually culminating in rumors of a solitary monster possessing traits of both mammal and reptile. Two remarkable creatures became blurred into one myth, each reflecting different facets of the Mokele Bembe legend. For generations, local knowledge kept them hidden. Claims of a living dinosaur only pushed serious inquiry aside. Most dismissed the reports as folklore or outright hoaxes. But now that secrecy is gone. My official report has left my hands. What was once myth has become flesh, bone, and data. By making their existence known, I fear that we may have turned these ancient inhabitants of the Congo Basin into targets. Standing on the airstrip, I sensed the gravity of what we'd done more than ever before. We had peeled back yet another one of Earth's mysteries, and the consequences are just beginning to unfold. The question is no longer if the Mokele Bembe is real, but how long these creatures can survive. As the last crates of equipment were loaded onto the plane, I realized that we may have destroyed their only protection, leaving them exposed to whatever comes next. Thank you to World of Warships for sponsoring this video, and to viewers like you. And remember, you matter.
Okay, so is this just like a... I'm wondering if that's real or if this is just like a fictional story that he did.
Who knows?
Okay, I think it's sort of like a story that he just made about it. Okay. I thought it was gonna be more like a real, like, scientific evaluation of it, but it looks like he did sort of a role play thing here, which that's fine too. It was still interesting. Because, that's an interesting way to look at it. Every time, like every other time I'd heard anything, or watched anything about Mokele and Bembe, they always said it was like a sauropod of some kind. But this is interesting. Like a giant pangolin or a really giant river, turtle. Those are actually interesting speculations on it. Alright. Oh, yeah, before I forget... had a couple of videos.
Remember, if it wasn't for me, your friend.
Sorry about that. Cookie there gave us a couple of videos we should watch that he wanted me to watch on here. So this is Ghost Stories dub funny moments. Now, if you don't know anything about Ghost Stories, it's an anime that, like, I don't know the exact details, but I just know that the English dub, like, the people who did the English dub, they were basically told to do whatever they wanted with it, and they basically made, like, you know those abridged anime series, like, on YouTube, where they basically make, like, parody, comedy, sort of dub-overs of it, you know? Yeah, it was like, this is like an official one of those, because this was like an official dub, like, release of this. So it's like those anime abridged shows before YouTube.
Friend would be headlining in heaven, or according to Born Again Betty, hell, since after all he is Jewish.
Kaya!
You! What do you want?
Thanks a lot, man.
Huh?
What?
I think she's right. You are retarded.
I'm all out.
Lol Ghost Stories.
Oh my god.
Forgotten, like a black family in Bush, America.
I mean, I like Terry O'Quinn and all, but that guy's a freak. Is Naveen Andrews still screwing Barbara Hershey? Remember her lips and beaches? And why do fags like that movie so much? God.
Oh my god. This language, Jesus Christ. Y'all gonna have to chill with those words, man.
Oh, perfect. It's in Japanese. Jing Chao Nong Ning Tao.
Oh my god.
Luckily, I can read Barricade.
Oh my god. Wait, that's Japanese.
Zero chill bro.
A
LOL.
police station! Thank God! I never thought I'd be happy to see one of those things. Hey, put the donuts down! Drop the Krispy Kreme Serpico! We need your help here!
My father and my brother after 9 months
Awesome fact. This is the official
They
dub.
were tempted by fruit, and they knew.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. It is an actual official, like, release. This is an official one. That's what makes it so funny.
They were sinful and naked without Jesus. Hello, sinner.
God, can you go bomb an abortion clinic or something?
You just wait. When that wonderful president finishes stacking the Supreme Court, we won't have to. Don't forget what I told you about premarital sex. Abstinence only got it.
Oh my god.
Stupid rabbit. Come on, jump.
I said jump!
You're such a crybaby, Ketchero. That's why they pick on you. You gotta be like Cameron Diaz in the paparazzi. Bam!
It's not right to
Godly
teach a child
rolling
to
on the
respond
floor
with
laughing.
violence. He should follow the example of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and forgive his persecutors.
Yeah, and take a look at what happened to him.
You're not helping.
Oh my god.
Maybe Momoko is right. You should go Gandhi and show kindness to your enemies, and by doing so, turn them into friends.
You're a fag, and he should join the football team.
Oh my god, can we stop with that word? You're gonna get me in trouble on here, Jesus.
So that's where the I said jump came from.
Later!
Ketchero! Where's the damn cat?
Buddy!
What? Ketchero, what are you retarded? Obviously. Which way did he go?
Oh my god.
Now we'll never find out who the ghost is. I hope to God you're adopted.
That's it! That's what I'm talking about! Pump! 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 Think of a big black man chasing you!
Shiro, Tommy, please.
Should I make a counter for it? LOL.
Oh my god.
Man, this anime not holding back.
I saw the full version of that clip.
The
where he's
hell?
like- I saw a full version of that. He's like, well, he's not racist. He's like, yeah, he only increased his run by 0.2 seconds or so. I was like, well, we know he's not racist.
We were bringing you back to life. I know now that it could never work between us. As much as we wanted to, it could never be. Not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black.
You'll have to catch me first, fat ass!
Come back here, you coward!
What is the
You lose
name of
weight,
this
you
show?
move fast.
It's called Ghost Stories.
Hold it right there!
Foot.
Oh, the music teacher. What a bitch.
When he died, I was
What a
so sad that
bitch.
I would never hear that voice again. His
Oh,
laugh.
I've seen
The
this
joke
clip.
is so funny.
I've seen this part.
His funny little requests.
Touch me.
His reprimands.
Touch me hard.
Touch me harder.
Now get out of
I
my
have
way!
seen it too.
I'm getting my little brother!
Mop girl!
You're on our side? Wait a minute, what's your angle? What happened to my leg?
If you break it, your little brother's going to the retarded school in the sky.
I may have to search this video after this, it's so funny.
Jeez, come on.
Pardon me? I really enjoyed running with you
Ha,
today.
ha,
Don't
ha.
you have any money for shoes?
3.
Did the Crips beat you up and take yours too? They took
Crips
mine,
beat
and
you
now my
up.
dad only buys me cheap ones from Payless.
Cheap
Yeah,
ones from
genius, but all the
Payless.
rabbits are dead. We should get out our best stationery and our pins and ask Amy Grant for those 3 wishes.
Look what I've got.
Yo, Sensei, dig! What's haps on the craps with snaps?
Cracker.
The piano ghost?
Have you seen Jojo a
I'm
meme?
sure I'll live a long,
I've seen a
miserable
little
life
bit of it. I need to
heartbreak and
watch
alcoholism before a ghost takes me out. If you're lying, thank you. I told you I'm going to be fine. Why are you still crying? Because these pajamas are gay.
Oh my god.
Who is your favorite character in JoJo?
Speedwagon.
What rolling on the floor laughing?
Okay, let's go. Oh, wait, there was one more. Hang on. There was another one he sent. Hang on. What is Bound Earth? I don't know what Bound Earth is, but he sent me this to watch, so. You gonna play? Oh, there we go. So is this like a parody of Earthbound? Oh. Bro, what is that face? Raid? What? Raid!
It like is Henry Stickmin.
Is that an eraser?
Eh. Demon.
Just throw it in his face. Ghosts. Nani? Oh. What? goodness. Oh, that was a little creepy. Zombie Michael Jackson for Thriller.
Thriller.
Yep.
My favorite song.
It's a classic. Okay, why are we just staring at this?
And none is going to save you. So the context here in the original part, you actually have to wait 3 minutes to go through the waterfall. These three are staring.
Oh, okay. Does it actually last 3 minutes? Oh my gosh. And why does it take 3 minutes?
Yes, in the original game.
I see their faces are changing. What are they like getting on?
Listen to the music and wait for it. Get these 3 demons to the Nether Realm right now.
This is getting really eerie. Oh my gosh, why is Paul McCartney there? Pepsi! Pepsi Man! Bonk. Don't question it, he knows what he's doing, just watch.
I don't know what just happened.
Damn. Ooh. Deserved. Damn. Ooh, they pulled out the gat. Nice kicks. Don't dare think I didn't see that. Ah! Oh, I love that. The little godly slap. I love that.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Ooh.
Slap of God.
Yeah.
Game set!
David Bowie! I'm in the way, but that's David Bowie.
The goat.
Yep. This is ground control to Major Tom. It's Cartman.
You will finally see that I am a true to superior word, the true alphabet.
Catch this shit.
Oh my god, Cartman.
Ooh. Flash warning. There's that guy from Legend of Zelda.
Yakuza 5 reference to Shine Adar Heat action. Isn't that God of War right there? Yeah, it is. I don't know what your problem is, but oh! Ow. Oh my god, he killed Jeff, you bastard! Oh, the steel chair!
And that was a Boondocks reference. Let's check it out. That guy's name is Pooh. Well, there's my admission. This is just teaching me all my problems can be solved by punching.
Rats, we are the rats.
You won! Oh no, not the rats. Prince, baby. Well, I do not like this music. It's very unsettling.
Oh, yes.
Oh, don't fall.
Smoking is bad for your health. Especially when it's your own flesh you're smoking.
Oh. is that that was the Snake Eater theme, wasn't it?
What is a boondocks?
Hi, John
Yes.
Lennon. Hi, John Lennon. You never saw the Boondocks? Oh, you need to. Ew.
Arguably the greatest show on Adult Swim for 4 seasons.
Yep.
It is a show.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh. That's unsettling. Is that Wario? Wario. Was that Ronald McDonald?
The unsettling music used in EXE games came from this game.
Oh, that would make sense.
Perfect.
Well, that was certainly something. Prince, baby, I got my cat is just crawling all over me, wanting to cuddle with me, so I'm trying to work around him.
Well, that was something indeed.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for those video submissions there, Cookie. Alright, let's see what else we got. Here we go. Scribbles to Screen is a good YouTube channel.
Give it up for 1.5 hours.
1974, the publishers of Doubleday released the...
I need to get the original, I need to get the original cover of this
novel Jaws, written by Peter Benchley, who wrote it within over a 3-year period. Just before the book was publicised, film producers David Brown and Richard D. Zanuck got an opportunity to read it early. They enjoyed the book so much that they bought the film rights. Principal photography began on the film within only a matter of months, with director Spielberg homing the wheel only being his second feature film. His first directed movie was the TV film Duel back in 1971.
I'm young and I'm stupid and I'm saying Duel has 4 letters and Jaws has 4 letters, and they're both about these leviathans preying upon every man. And I said to myself, this is kind of the sequel to Duel, only it's on the water.
So in today's program, we're going to be taking a behind-the-scenes look at Jaws, as well as many deleted and long-lost scenes. Now with the context formally out of the way, let's find out as to why Jaws made us so terrified to head back into the water.
I watched this movie for the first time in 2024, and God, it is just so good.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It is a good movie. It's a classic.
And a huge shout out to all my generous Patreons, who they got to see this video nearly a whole month in advance. Link in the description if you want to make a contribution.
Hat Demon.
The storyline was dramatically simplified down for the feature. The love story between Miss Brody and Hooper and the subplot of the Mafia were all removed out. The way that the shark dies in the original story was...
Oh, thank God they took out that affair between Brody's wife and Hooper. I hated that about the book. I'm glad they took it out. Because Hooper was my favorite character in the movie. And then you read that in the book, and it's like, oh God, why? I'm so glad they took that out for the movie.
By a harpoon, Spielberg felt that this wasn't exciting enough for a finale. Thus, he pitched the idea where an air tank is stuck within the shark's mouth, and Brody on the sinking ship, with one last effort, is just able to shoot at the tank.
I don't actually watch movies, and Goth can tell you since he knows my lore dump.
That is completely unbelievable. He said, if I have got them for 2 hours, they will believe whatever I do for the next 3 minutes. He was right. I was wrong in this entire argument. His ending brought people to their feet screaming, yes, 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 this is the way it should be.
Several writers were involved of polishing up the script. This included the original author, Peter Benchley, and 2 others who were credited, Howard Sackler, and even Spielberg wrote his own rendition of the script.
Which I haven't shown to very many people.
I'm just surprised.
I don't even think
He is beautiful.
A scripted moment in Spielberg's version that never made it into the final draft is where the harbour master is watching a film on the television, specifically scripted to be the 1957 movie Don't Go Near the Water. He goes out on the harbour bay to clean out his coffee pot by dunking it in the ocean water, while still being maintained and occupied of watching the television. A boat's mast begins to move, along with another mast of a boat besides that one, and then the next one, and then the next one. Gradually, a whole row of boats' masts begins to move like a domino effect, indicating that there's something travelling beneath the boat.
And sure enough, moments later, the harbour master is attacked by the shark. The scene would have been immensely complicated to shoot, so in its place they wrote the scene with the two fishermen on the pier. While a lot of work on the script still needed to be done, a time crunch was on the way. Universal wanted to move the filming date forward by May of 1974, and then hopefully conclude filming by June, which was when the Screen Actors Guild contract was going to expire, so Universal could avoid any actors going out on strike during mid-filming. But this would mean that Spielberg would have to start principal photography without a completed script, so he asked his improvised friend Carl Gutley if he could aid into co-writing the script, where he would help create lines of dialogue on the day of filming. Gutley was initially hired on as an actor, cast as Harry Meadows, editor of the local newspaper. From there, he could always be present on the set, from day to day, refining and tweaking the dialogue. Some of the most famous lines of dialogue from the film were actually improvised, including the most misquoted sentence in the movie.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
The line, we're gonna need a bigger boat.
Gutley additionally wrote The Jaws Log, a book about the behind the scenes to coincide with the release of the movie. He wrote it within a short time frame, between March and May of 1975, only completing it within a month of the movie's release. Peter Bankley, who wrote the original Jaws book, additionally contributed into acting in the film by playing the newscaster. Already professionally interviewing people for television as a career, it wasn't too unfamiliar territory for himself. Spielberg had a fun idea to get the old couple from the Chevelin Express to make a minor cameo in the film, but with the script developing many difficult scenes to shoot, Spielberg didn't want to do anything more complicated, so abandoned the idea for the niche in-joke. They filmed the movie on the island of Martha's Vineyard. The reason why the island was chosen was because it was the only place along the east coast where you could travel out 12 miles to the sea and still be within shallow waters of 30 feet. This was ideal for easier control on the shark animatronic. Additionally, you couldn't see land for miles around, which would aid into making it look like that the characters were much more secluded in the third act, when they're out hunting for the shark. Jaws was going to be the first Hollywood feature to be primarily filmed on the ocean. It had been a considerable amount of years since any major studio did a water film. The traditional way of filming a movie set above the water was by having the camera on a massive gimbal, just about hovering above the water. Director of photography Bill Butler suggested to Spielberg to film Jaws mostly handheld, as a way to more easily get to the surface level of the water. He also reinvented the water box, where it was typically used to film underwater shots, but Bill tweaked it where you could actually focus the lens within the box. Spielberg loved this approach, as it would be a familiar point of view for the audience when they personally went swimming in the ocean. The shark animatronic that was devised for the film hardly worked. The ocean environment really took a toll on the shark's internal engineering. In fact, it immensely delayed the movie by a matter of months, as the crew were constantly waiting for the shark to be fully functional once again. The most enduring and repetitive phrase that the cast had to listen to was "the shark is not working." The shooting was becoming so immensely frustrating that where they could, the crew purposely filmed around the shark, just so they could actually make some progress. This would aid in the movie's favour, as critics would have praised the film for only sparingly seeing the shark, mostly leaving it up to the audience's imagination, for the shark lurking made it for a very suspenseful movie experience. The film relied on other simpler elements to make the viewers believe that the shark was actually there, such as John Williams' score for the build-up of the shark attack.
And without that score, to this day I believe the film would have only been half as successful. I think the score was clearly responsible for half the success of that movie.
Practically all usable footage of the shark was implemented for the final film. One of the most memorable shock moments of the movie is where Hooper dives down to some wreckage and stumbles upon a decomposing body. The shot of the head was a late edition reshoot. Since the studio didn't felt the shot was necessary, Spielberg had to personally cover the expenses. He did several different takes with the double of Hooper to see which one would be more effective. He would ultimately use the take where it offered a few seconds of pause before the head would come out of the wreckage. Australian couple Ron and Valerie Taylor were approached if they could photograph real-life sharks that could be featured in the movie. The fictional Jaws shark was about 26 feet long, and the real-life sharks that the Taylors were going to be filming were only 14 feet long. So as a way to make the Australian footage of the sharks seem much more bigger, was to make a miniature cage and get a shorter than average height person inside. Universal hired on Carl Rizzo to be the man inside the miniature cage. He had been an experienced horseback rider for movies, but had no experience for scuba diving. Rizzo
Stream crashed. Dang, and we were 2 hours in. Did the stream glitch? They said crashed. Okay.
So was ecstatic to get the job, but eventually found it a terrible ordeal, spending up to a week being lowered in shark-infested waters, which completely oversized him. The shots were going to be inserted for Matt Hooper's death. They still needed a shot of the shark attacking the cage. There was an incident where a shark accidentally got its nose stuck in the cage, becoming tangled and majorly destroying the prop. RZA was in the cage some moments ago, but panicked and insisted to get back inside the boat. So while he wasn't in the cage for what would have been the needed shot, it was actually a good thing, as RZA would have surely drowned in the incident. When the rushes came back to Universal, the shot was so spectacular that the script was rewritten for Hooper to survive, that he was able to escape the cage and hide on the surface floor, and then finally resurface when the shark is killed off. When the final edit of the movie was being prepared, Spielberg was advised to make some very minor edits for the final cut, so they could just avoid an R rating. This included just trimming several frames of the severed leg hitting the ocean floor, but all the death scenes were mostly left intact. Since it was a shark doing the killings, they were able to get away with a PG rating, since what happens in nature is part of childhood experience.
From the best-selling novel, Jaws, rated PG, maybe too intense for younger children.
When the movie was released in the summer of 1975, it made box office history by becoming the first domestic movie to make over $100 million, and grossing just shy of $500 million worldwide. Side note, while Jaws may have been revolutionary for the film industry, it invented the summer blockbuster, it made Spielberg a household name, it's important to remember its detrimental effect on the shark species. Sharks generally have a greater character than what the Jaws movies portrayed as the bloodthirsty monsters. Shark attacks happen so rarely, in fact, it's a bit misleading to call them shark attacks. They're more like shark accidents. Actually, they're more scared of humans than we are of them. You are more likely to be killed by your household pet than you are a great white. There's still so much we don't fully understand about sharks. The marketing team behind the movie Jaws spent over $1 million on advertisements of the public's understanding of the sharks, making them terrified of the species as a way to prompt them to see the movie. The stigma of sharks being dangerous animals was around for decades before the movie and the novel of Jaws. But those products only helped to reinforce the stigma and made shark hunting mainstream. For years, sharks were not a protective group of animals. Today, shark populations have gone down by 90%. And now the great white, the one that Jaws is particularly based on, a fully grown adult is now extremely rare to see in the ocean. Us as the human race have certainly a lot to answer for many of the now critically endangered species of sharks. Now, let me back up. I'm not trying to make people purposely ashamed for liking the movie, or trying to convince you to hate the film. I'm quite fond of the movie and its sequels myself. But this is just a friendly reminder that Jaws and its sequels are just a work of fiction. If there's anybody out there who wants to contribute or aid in the efforts of protecting sharks, I've put some links down below of some of the best organisations to get involved with. Four years after the original cinematic release of Jaws, the film would still go forward with continuous momentum, with outstanding numbers. When it made its first TV debut on ABC in 1979, it was estimated to have been viewed within 29 million households, making it one of the most sizable movie premieres on television, only just being behind the record of Gone with the Wind, with approximately 33 million households tuning in. With the horror and graphic scenes of Jaws now being shown on a platform with a broader audience, television censorship removed these scenes out. The Bloody Leg, who had just made it in the theatrical cut, was not so lucky this time round. In the following years, while the television version of Jaws may have removed some scenes, viewers who were familiar with the film noticed some exclusive scenes that were not seen in either the theatrical cut of Jaws or the home media releases. About 10 minutes of cut material was contributed back into the film. This was steadily becoming a common practice for films that were debuting on television around about this time. Since networks were re-editing the film, not only they could make the runtime a more rounded number, so they could more easily snugly fit them within a time slot, but also a longer runtime could contribute more ad time, and if they were able to extend the runtime long enough, they could chop the films into two parts, typically for double night feature nights, where if viewers wanted to see the conclusion to the film, they would have to tune back in to the following evening. Taking Jaws for an example, the majority of these deleted scenes were by and large extended takes.
Nobody saw her go into the water? Somebody could have.
This scene between Brody and Jonathan Fillet was actually trimmed abruptly during mid-scene. These two shots are not separate but are part of the same continuous take.
You an Islander? No, New York City. You here for the summer? Yeah, me and some friends got a house. Come on.
For Jaws' 20th anniversary, the Laserdisc release included the TV deleted scenes, including a selection of previously unseen sequences, such as when Brody and the teenage lad faces the remains of Chrissy Watkins, the girl that was killed off at the beginning of the movie. Brody asked the lad, who knew the girl, that if he can identify that it is indeed Chrissy. The young man is naturally reluctant to see the remains. The extended TV cut had a scene of the mayor stopping Deputy Leonard from putting up up the signs of no swimming.
We had a shark attack at South Beach this morning, Mayor. Daniel, I got a batten down the beach. What do you call that girl, Lenny? We'll take my car, okay? You come with us. Yeah, but I gotta do these signs. Come on, and give us time to think about what the signs are gonna say.
Another home media exclusive deleted scene is an extended scene where the mayor Larry Vaughn is trying to convince Brody to not jump to the conclusion that the girl died of a shark attack, in fear that...
Oh my god. I had my microphone muted this whole time. Damn it. You just missed that stupid joke. I'm sorry, I had my mic muted when I told that joke. You guys hear me?
Nuu face with tears of joy. Tell it again. Tell the joke again.
Okay, I was talking.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Okay, so that scene where they find her remains on the beach, I said my dad had a silly joke for that, a stupid joke for that. He said, how did they know that Chrissy did not have dandruff? Because they found her head and shoulders on the beach. Gotta love dad jokes.
Such news will scare away the upcoming summer tourers. In the deleted footage, the scene was originally meant to end with the mayor telling Brody about other ongoing issues on the island to keep his mind occupied.
Oh, ha ha, original dad joke.
Brody eventually just stops listening. The deleted scene of Quint's introduction was another sequence that first made its way to the TV airings. While waiting to get his appropriate fishing gear, he listens in to a lad rehearsing his clarinet.
Ba 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 ba.
Interestingly, when Spielberg scripted his own version of Jaws, the first time we would have seen Quint was at a local movie theatre, watching the 1956 adaptation of Moby Dick. Specifically the finale, where Captain Ahab is stabbing the whale. Quint finding the production value of the film
spear
absolutely
I stabbeth thee.
where everybody else in the auditorium stand up and leave, with Quint the only one left in the cinema, still laughing hysterically. The reason why this scene wasn't incorporated for the final draft was that they couldn't secure permission from the star of the film, Gregory Peck, who owned partial copyright over the movie.
Greg wasn't opposed to the use of that scene that way in Jaws. He just claimed that he wasn't really proud of Moby Dick. It was not the proudest moment in his body of work, and just didn't really want us to either make fun of it or just include it at all in the movie, so we could never get the rights to use Moby Dick.
More cut footage that found its way to the TV broadcast is a trim scene where Brody is trying to de-escalate the chaos going on board the port, intercut with some B-roll full of antics, taking place right before we see Hooper.
You aren't going out with that bunch of crazy nuts, are you? I don't know yet. Say, I hope you're not going out with those nuts, are you? First, you have to move out or he can't get out at all.
The TV cut showed an extended scene of the fishermen going out to hunt the shark, which later on we see that they were successful into catching their prize, but not the right shark.
Tiger shark. A what?
A what?
Was used for a jigsaw puzzle at the time, although touched up to look a little bit more spectacular than it actually was. A deleted scene that was only shown exclusively in the making of featurette on the Laserdisc release was an improvised line
So
of dialogue
sassy.
at the dinner table, where Miss Brody talks about a Cousteau show that she watched.
Sea otters where the mother was killed in front of the baby. The baby saw it with his eyes. You could see the tears coming down his face. It was the most incredible thing I have ever seen. It was terrible. Mikey wanted us to adopt the sea otter. I've never been this moved by anything on television. It was special.
Aww.
This cut scene that was first shown on the 20th anniversary release shows Quint's mate, Salvatore, unprovoked to get out on the ocean to kill the shark. The final TV deleted scene are some rather brief shots of Quint's fishing box. Unlike the other exclusive TV deleted scenes, these shots were never featured in any home media release.
Oh, Hooper making faces at him. Oh, lost deleted scenes.
Over the years, fans of the movie had noticed promotional material of scenes and setups that were never...
Now, this is the scene I was talking about. Originally...
It was so funny.
Yeah. The original version of the pond scene was way too gruesome, so they changed it up.
That is Best Boy Hooper, who was the actor.
Hooper's actor is Richard Dreyfuss.
You know, I had seen all those pictures of Brody's son in the arms of the stuntman, and I always wondered, like, that's not in the movie, and yet that picture was used to promote the picture.
More unseen footage was placed on the Laserdisc featurette.
Dial gasp. Where's Johnny in this movie? Asterisk audible.
Where in the moment it looks like the shark is heading straight towards Brody's older son, Michael Brody, but still being dragged along, Ted is just able to push the boy out the shark's path. Before Ted is dragged under the ocean, the filmmakers deemed this death scene to be far too bold in comparison to the previous death scenes this early in the film.
Too bloody, and I thought it was in bad taste, so I cut it out.
Director and producer Luans made the making of documentary, where he tracked down a number of unused takes.
I think that if there had not been DVDs today, you know, I think a lot of that stuff would be totally lost.
But there is still one unsavory death scene that has
Richard Dreyfuss is the actor for Hooper.
Yeah. So yeah, originally the shark does attack the guy.
I wonder if Johnny took swimming lessons for the shark.
I'm pretty sure he would already know how to swim, don't you think? The original version of that, yeah, the guy was attacked by the shark in the shark's jaws, being, you know, nommed on, but he had Michael in
Johnny Cage.
He had Michael in his arms, so they thought that was a little too gruesome to have Michael being held by this guy that's being mauled by a shark. They thought that was a little too dark and gruesome, so they cut it and they reworked it to where the shark goes for the guy and just barely passes by Michael. Yeah, and it just barely passes by Michael. Yeah. And I agree, that's really dark. It's really cruel. So, yeah. I'm glad he cut it.
Due to ongoing stress and eventual nervous breakdown.
Yes, Johnny Cage caused the shark is the animality.
Thankfully, there was not incredibly much left to film the production. Only the insert shots needed to be completed, such as the death scene with the boy Alex, which the scene provides our first glimmer of the shark. These scenes were supervised and directed by Joe Alves, who would later aid as a second director for Jaws 2 and be the main director for Jaws 3. Originally, we would have seen the shark's head launching out of the water, biting and dragging down Alex, with the stunt being way too dangerous for child actor Jeffrey to be involved with. His part was supplemented by female mannequin.
Flawless victory, flawless victory, flawless victory.
Far too early in the story, or it was one of the many graphic shots that contributed to the R-rated version. The shot went unused for the final cut. Behind the scenes photographs and home movie footage of the setup has been...
Oh, believe me, the description of Alex's death in the book, oh jeez, I had to pause. I almost... Woo, it was really disturbing. I had to, like, pause and put the book down for a minute because it was really disturbing the way they describe, how gruesomely, graphically they describe it in the book.
The video with Sonia in MK4.
The only glimmer the public has had of the discarded shot. It's not known as to why it was never featured on any home media releases. It remains to be the holy grail of missing media for Jaws fans. Nearly approaching 30 years since all the deleted scenes were made available, and subsequent releases have not featured any new material, the odds don't look particularly optimistic if we'll ever get to see any more footage. But as the old saying goes for lost media, never say never.
So that was interesting, and that was by... Oh yeah, Scribbles to Screen.
This not a brutality, this is fatality.
This... Robots all good! I have to do the silly scream.
Ha ha.
Oh yeah, let's watch this.
Lake Placid is a 1999 creature feature directed by Steve Miner.
And he was my favorite character in this movie.
It was so funny when Jax did it.
Yeah. This is comic. He's a movie reviewer I just recently discovered, and I liked his style. But I wanted to show him to you. This is a long video because it's a compilation of the Lake Placid series.
My favorite character.
When a diver is killed by an unknown animal in a New England lake, an investigation is launched to find the creature responsible. But as the evidence begins to point to a crocodile, they all begin to wonder, where did it come from, and who will it eat next? So the movie begins with Brendan Gleeson talking to a diver on a boat, and he asks him such questions as, what's your favourite John Lennon song?
Imagine.
And what's your favourite letter of the alphabet?
Gee.
So, with the formalities out of the way, the diver jumps into the water while Brendan chows down on a Twinkie or 5. While our diver
Twinkie or
performs a
5.
beaver home invasion, something watches him from the murky depths thinking,
Beaver
I'm
home
sneaking
invasion.
up on you. Really slowly, but I'm doing it. Our diver gets the feeling he's being watched, so he turns around to find...
Hee hee, it's only me, Ian the Terrapin.
Before a beaver darts out of its den on the way to the shop.
Behan's movie with his shadow.
But while our diver is sticking his head where the sun don't shine, he's pulled under by something and dragged to the surface. Brendan watches in shock, as he's never seen such a bizarre swimming technique. But it soon becomes apparent that he needs help, so Brendan pulls him into the boat, and oh my goodness, where's the rest of him? The diver is all like,
Help me, Brendan. I can't feel my legs, Brendan. Oh, is it night time already, Brendan? Bleh. I'm dead. Brendan.
We then meet Jack from the Fish and Game Commission,
I can't feel my legs. It's because they ain't there.
who inquires about a potential culprit.
Any recent bear attacks? Bears don't attack people underwater.
Looks like it could be our old pal, the plump water moose again. He then
07 for Brendan.
he's got a bigger penis than him.
Behan movie with shadow.
He's only
Well, Brendan is the guy he was talking to. I don't remember what they said, if he said what the diver's name is. But yeah, 07 for that guy.
half the man you are. We're then introduced to Kelly, a paleontologist working
Welcome.
at the Natural History Museum.
I just got what you guys were talking about. Yeah, because of his animality, the gator.
Museum in New York. Her boss Kevin tells her that they found a strange tooth fragment on the dead diver in Maine, and so he wants to send Kelly to see if they have a dinosaur living in the lake. Kelly's all like, well, it can't be a dinosaur, because they've been dead for a bit, eh? Also, I don't want to go, I just want to stay at home and watch telly. But there'll be no telly
Exactly.
for Kelly, as against
They've
her
been
wishes,
dead
she
for a
winds up in
bit, eh?
Maine, where she meets up with Brendan, who takes her to the morgue to see the tooth. She quickly confirms it's a reptile tooth, and not a tooth from a dinosaur.
Well, duh.
But while she's in there,
Well,
she can't resist
duh.
having a gander at the dead diver.
Good
and is
for
all like,
getting it.
Oh my god, he's got no legs, Brendan. He's not going to get very far in that state, Brendan.
And Brendan's like, well, to be fair, he could always join the Paralympics if he wasn't, well,
Dead.
Kelly then meets Jack,
And
I have
she
a feeling
watching
these two are
Mortal
gonna grow to like
Kombat.
each other. But in the meantime, the three of them go and visit the old lady who lives by the lake, played by the wonderful Betty White with a H. It was a bit mental.
Betty
and tells them
White!
that she killed her husband with a skillet to end his suffering, leaving everyone thinking, I think she's telling porky pies. So they head out to the lake to see if they can find any trace of our mystery creature. But instead, they find the head of a common water moose. Not very dangerous, unlike the plump variety, so unlikely
We
to be
miss
the
you,
culprit.
Betty
After
White.
setting up camp
Yes.
next to the lake, they're all surprised when
Rip
someone
to a
turns up
goat.
in a crococopter. It turns
The
out to be an
girl
eccentric
formed the
rich guy called
Lorax.
Hector, who really likes crocodiles and thinks that's what killed the diver. Out on the lake, and Hector tells Brendan he's fat, which is funny because of the irony. But before Brendan can sock him one, his canoe gets flipped. But no one gets attacked, so it was probably just another terrapin or something. Back on land, and Kelly speaks to her boss on the phone saying,
Yes, I realize that, sir. But something flipped us over, and I doubt very much if it was
Outlived her cast
she's right
members
about that.
from Golden
Minka, we
Girls.
flip land vehicles.
Yep, she was
And
the
only
last
at
one.
night. As night falls, Brendan finds two of his deputies digging a big hole, and they say,
He paid us $500. You accepted money from him?
of course not. He paid us in pogs. And Brendan's all like, aw, I want 500 pogs.
Rip.
The next day, and they're back out on the lake again, but this time Jack and Hector are going in for a dive to see what they can see. After they drop a speaker into the water to lure in the potential croc, the guys dive in and discover another dead animal. Man, this lake is positively bursting with water meese. Which is the plural for water moose, in case that wasn't obvious. Also, Jack sees a massive tail and decides to swim towards it, as he clearly doesn't value his safety. On the surface, something starts pulling the boat, which causes Kelly to fall into the water. The guys sail back over to pull her out. Once they get her back on the boat, the divers surface and Deputy Burke starts to pull up the speaker. But in a case of really bad timing, the croc pokes its head out of the water to say hi to everyone, but accidentally bites off Burke's head. Back at camp, and Brendan is feeling sad after having lost his friend. So
Rip
Hector
Burke.
tells him a dream that he had when he was a kid, where he was just a head lying on the ground, and the neighbourhood bullies would kick him around like a football, which does little to convince Brendan that he's of sound mind. God, if you think that's weird, I had a dream when I was younger that I had 2 dicks, which sounds great on paper, but the problem was, one of them couldn't stop pissing. Anyway, Brendan then gets caught in one of Hector's traps, which pisses him right off, so he chases Hector with a branch to give him a good old clobbering. But all of a sudden, a grizzly bear runs out of the forest shouting, "Get out of the way! I just ate a bomb!" Everyone shocked quickly turns to disbelief as a giant crocodile then jumps out of the water shouting, "Don't worry, humans, I'll save you!" and pulls the bear into the water before it explodes, saving everyone's life. So now they know for sure it's a crocodile. They go back to talk to
I
Betty
am
White with the
laughing
H,
so
who in a
much.
shocking twist is
Oh,
friends
yeah.
with the crocodile.
Like I said, I'm glad that he popped up in my recommendeds because he was a treasure to find. he's very funny. I love his reviews.
And even feeds it unprocessed steak on a regular basis. When Brendan and the gang confront her about this, she admits that the croc accidentally ate her husband, and she lied about it, leaving everyone thinking, man, she really doesn't understand the concept of criminal
Same.
liability, does she? Brendan tells her she's under house arrest, and she calls him
Officer Fuckmeat.
That's Brendan Fuckmeat to you. Meanwhile, Hector is indulging his mania by going for a swim in the cove where he thinks the croc lives. And while he's treading water, he's thinking, I'm gonna wee in here, and no one will ever know. Until he turns around to find himself face to face with the croc. But
Oh
unbeknownst
my
to him,
goodness.
the croc is just curious. And it's all like, where are you going? I just want to play. Hector then lets loose an inflatable as a distraction, and the croc thinks, ooh, a chew toy, before grappling onto the leg of the helicopter thinking, ooh, a flying chew toy. Back at the camp, Jack is not happy that Hector put one of the deputies in danger.
It's your last little stunt, Mr. Crocodile.
That's Hector Crocodile to you, sir. So Jack thinks the only way to save the day is to kill the croc, but Hector and Kelly convince him to at least try and capture it alive. So they come up with a plan, which involves borrowing one of Betty White with a H's cows and hanging it from the helicopter as bait. Brendan pulls out his standard issue grenade launcher in case something goes wrong and they have to annihilate the cow. And at first, it doesn't seem like the plan is working, with Kelly saying,
She looks like a giant tea bag.
well, if the cow's a tea bag, and it's already got the milk, so all they need is some sugar and they'd have a complete cup of moo. As they're just about to give
cup
up,
of
the
moo.
croc shows up on the radar, and as it gets closer to the cow, Kelly enjoys pointing out the obvious.
She's mooing.
It's a cow. They moo. The croc moves in to give the cow a mouth hug, so Hector pulls up.
A
but
mouth
he does
hug.
it too quickly and loses control of the helicopter. Brendan wades in with his big
That's also what they call. Nope, never mind. I can't say it. I'm not gonna say it.
gun to provide support and says,
Just have this.
Use your imagination.
I agree. Nothing could go wrong when you're standing knee-deep in croc-infested waters. Surprising no one, the croc jumps out of the water, so Brendan jumps on the truck, and they take off with the croc hot on their tail. But they hit a tree root, and Kelly falls off, because of course she does. The
Yep.
croc whips round and knocks Kelly into the water with its tail. So with nowhere else to go, she tries to swim towards Hector on the downed helicopter. The croc is having a blast as it's finally got someone to play with. So it follows Kelly back into the water. Kelly dives underwater to try and lose the beast, and hides behind a submerged tree. But the croc loves hide and seek, so it pretends not to notice her, before saying, "Surprise!" which shocks Kelly so much she gets her foot stuck in the tree roots. Fortunately for her, the croc also
Lord,
gets
my
stuck on the
phone
tree and
died
starts
on my
panicking,
laptop
which allows
now.
Kelly to get free.
Oh,
She
dear.
swims to the surface and makes it to the helicopter. Now Kelly and Hector have lost sight of the croc, but it just loves showing off, so it tries to jump through the doors of the helicopter, but gets stuck in the process, and is like, "Oh, okay friends, I'm not playing anymore, I'm stuck. Can someone help me please?" The humans are amazed to find that the croc only wanted to be friends all along, so Brendan steps forward with his gun, planning to explode the helicopter to free it. But Hector and Kelly protest as their new friend could get hurt in the process. Fortunately, Jack finds the middle ground and decides to tranquilize the croc, so they can take it somewhere safe and sort things out properly. But then, without warning, a second crocodile attacks Hector.
See, I was so when I first saw this, because Hector was my favorite character in the movie. I was like so panicking. I was like, "No, not Hector! Don't kill Hector!"
So Brendan blasts it with his grenade launcher. The big croc says, "Ooh, sorry about that. That was Barry, and he was a right shit, so you did good, Brendan." So
He
the
was
croc
a
gets
right
taken
shit.
somewhere safe. Brendan
And I love what he says though, because when it grabs Hector, he's yelling out something like, "There's two of them!" or something. And then when he blasts it with a grenade launcher, he looks at them and goes, Back down to 1. Oh, but cheeky little line.
Goes to hospital with Hector because they're friends now, and Kelly and Jack go for a drink somewhere because they're thirsty as fuck. End of movie. After rewatching it, I think I can safely say that Lake Placid is my favourite giant croc movie. It's just got it all. It's thrilling,
LOL.
gruesome, very funny, and at a brisk 82 minutes you can watch it and still have time to watch the 5 direct-to-video sequels. Good lord.
Wow, 5.
Lake Placid 2 is a 2007 creature feature directed by David...
I have not seen any of them except for the first
5.
one. Yep, 5. But yeah, I have not seen any of them except for the first one.
Flores. Years after the events of the original, the residents of Black Lake are once again faced with the threat of giant crocodiles, so the local sheriff teams up with a big game hunter to stop them. So the movie begins with these two fellas on a boat, taking water samples for science and shit. Red Hat asks his mate Beer Belly why he doesn't quit this job and move to Hollywood, because his peerless acting ability and charming personality would surely make him a star.
I got into this line of work so I could meet sexy eco-warrior chicks who don't shave their legs.
But there'll be no hairy legs for Beer Belly, as he's swiftly plucked off the boat and resurfaces with one arm CGI'd
Oh, God.
off. Red Hat tries to help him get back on the boat, but like a lizard in distress, his other arm detaches.
Ah.
Thinking, oh no, I hope he's okay.
He's
we then
not.
meet Sheriff Smarmy and his son Scott, who is more interested in this
God,
girl
that's
playing with
gruesome.
her dog than he is talking to his dad. Honestly though, who plays with their dog that close to someone's house and doesn't go and say hi? Fucking rude it is. So the sheriff heads off to work and Scott keeps ogling the girl until...
So why don't you talk to her already?
Ah!
Jeez, Dad, don't you gotta go to work or something? Yes. So why don't you talk to her already? I'll talk to her when I want to talk to her. So why don't you talk to her already?
Then Smarmy goes and talks to her, because he's a dick, and Scott attempts to hide by ducking down. But Scott, you aren't hiding behind anything, so she can clearly still see you, you dumbass.
Joker jump scare from MK11.
But not content with being a dick twice
Right?
already this morning, Smarmy then proceeds to throw a bunch of darts in the general direction of Red Hat. So Red Hat without a hat tells Smarmy that Beer Belly has been killed, and all the police just laugh at him because they think he's high. How professional.
Boo.
But then Smarmy's ex shows up, who works for the Fish and Wildlife Service, and she's looking to investigate what killed the fella. And for some bizarre reason, No Hat picks up this severed leg and starts waving it around. Put that leg down, you mud bastard. Outside, and Smarmy proves his incompetence by saying,
Something that vicious, Frank. It had to be a mountain lion, a sick bear, something like that.
in the middle of a lake. Was the bear wearing scuba gear? Or perhaps the mountain lion was in a canoe? So Sheriff and the gang go to speak to the old lady who lives by the lake to ask if she's seen anything out of the ordinary. Oh, and it's Mrs. Bickerman's sister now, because Betty White with a H clearly wasn't going to be in this shit, was she? But Sister Bickerman is proper friendly and says, fuck off, you smarmy twat. So they
You
leave.
mean the goth
Meanwhile,
jump
Scott goes
scare?
for a wander in the woods and bumps into the girl he was looking at earlier, and her dog, which I'm going to
Me.
call Scarfy George. And while they're talking...
Yeah, I'm cool. You are far from cool, buddy.
Whoa, where did douchebag McVest come from? So this Neanderthal knobhead is Kerry's boyfriend for some reason. And I'm
Knobhead.
glad I'm not there with them because I would not be able to stop punching him in his annoyingly arrogant face. Back to the sheriff on the lake and they get attacked by the croc. But bloody hell, the visual effects are bad. Very bad. Amazingly, none of them get eaten, so they get back on land and a seaplane lands next to them. It's the shittest
It would be
CGI
funny if he
plane
was
the
Joker
world
in
has ever
MK11.
seen. Anyway, it turns out to be some big game hunter who I'm going to call Van Pelt. He and his hunting buddy, Fake Scar Phil, heard about this crocodile from a reporter and want to kill it. Elsewhere, Scott and the gang have met up with some more croc fodder, one of which is that funny fella from Monster Man, which is actually a really fun movie. I might do a video on that at some point. So,
Ooh, yeah, Monster Man is a good comedy horror.
Douche Vest McPest leads them to the lakeside, and while they have a splash about, Scott goes for a nice quiet walk on his own, thinking,
The guy
I
from
enjoy
Home
nature
Alone.
so much, and oh no, I have slipped and fallen over. Oh, and I've got me feet wet. I'm gonna have to take me socks off now, and then squeeze the water out, and then put back on damp socks.
Pretty
Don't
good
be
movie,
horrible.
I agree.
And time consuming. Then he notices
Oh, you've
a
seen
den
that
of
one.
some sort in the woods, but before he can check it out, oh, it's a rabbit from a pet shop. What an odd thing to find in the woods. Back to the sheriff, and our great shite hunter is told by Wildlife Lady that she won't let him kill the croc. Instead, she's going to trap it by leaving a little turtle in a net and hiding in the bushes 10 feet away. This plan
bit.
is shit. It will not work. Then out of nowhere, the trap is sprung, and oh look, they've caught a wild boar. So you're telling me a wild boar just happened to be near and decided to immediately run in and grab the turtle while a group of people are stood around it? Even by this movie standard, that's fucking stupid. Then the croc shows up and scuffs the boar in the neck and takes off into the bushes. So Sheriff Smarmy blindly fires his trank gun into the bushes and somehow manages to hit the croc in the head 4 times. A couple of things to point out here. One, I'm pretty sure those darts wouldn't penetrate the scales on a giant croc's head. And
No, it
two,
wouldn't.
look how fucking blurry the croc is. I'm getting motion sickness just looking at the damn thing. So Deputy Dumbfuck walks over to the croc to tie up its snout with some basic ass rope, but the croc just bites his arm off and then drags the rest of him into the lake,
Lord,
laughing its
that
tits
boy
up.
coming.
And amidst the chaos, Red Hat bites his lip and bleeds to death. A couple of minutes later, and Smarmy's acting like nothing's happened. Your friend just died, mate. Why are you so fucking smug, you smug fuck?
Yeah.
Back on the beach, and Monster Man sees a giant, blurry, terrible CGI croc next to the sunbathing girl. He tries to help her, but it drags her into the water for yet another off-screen kill.
I'm sorry, if I look down and I...
That's 3 arms he's taken.
Oh, right. You're right. If I looked down and I saw a gator right at my feet, I would be scrambling back up. I would be scrambling back and trying to get up to my feet and run away. Why did she not do that? She had enough time to scramble, to at least scramble backwards further away from it to try to get back to her feet. Like, come on.
Because they clearly spent too much money on Deputy Dumbass.
Horror movie logic.
His death, so they had to cut back on the next one, I guess. Meanwhile,
so.
Scott takes Kerry and Dongus Vestus to the croc's den he found. But I'm starting to think that Douche Goose has suffered a serious head injury.
0 survival instinct.
Right?
Scott then points out something.
Did you hear that goofy laugh?
And only the most keen-eyed of viewers would pick up on.
They look like eggs of some kind.
You don't fucking say!
No,
Vestibule
really?
Doesn't like how intelligent Scott is, so he smashes one of the eggs and squares off with him. Then he says,
"This turd rolls into town and suddenly I'm a big prick?"
I think big prick is a bit generous. He's more like a small, flaccid, turgid prick. Which makes me wonder, what on earth does Kerry even see in this guy? Oh, I tell you, if this fucker gets eaten off
you
screen,
think
I'm gonna do something. Oh, and
Well, I'm
speaking
gonna
of the
do
devil,
something.
Hang on a minute. He hasn't noticed. Why hasn't he noticed it?
There's a giant crocodile behind you.
How does he not know? It's massive! So eventually he turns around and falls over in surprise, then it drags him into his den and gives his ass a good chomp. Not exactly the gruesome on-screen death I was hoping for, but I'll take it. Scott and Kerry run off into the woods and she says,
What happened? What is that thing?
It's a fucking crocodile! You even said it was a crocodile, so why are you asking? And also, you know what happened? You were just there! The sheriff and they're looking for the croc, with Van Pelt flying his
Great
totally real
dialogue,
plane
great
to get an
dialogue
aerial
writing.
view. So Smarmy asks if Van Pant is a good pilot, and Phil says,
He's crashed 3 times already. Once was even into an elementary school. 4 kids.
oh, so he flew a plane into a school and killed a bunch of kids. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Do excuse me while I go and throw up from how much I'm laughing. Goddamn, who wrote this goddamn movie? So they try and harpoon the croc, but they fail because they're useless. And Van Pant says, I paid for this operation, so I want to get the kill shot, and starts flying towards the croc. So he's planning to shoot it from the plane, which he's flying. But as fake Scar Phil tries to harpoon it, he accidentally hits Van Plonk's plane. The split second he flies between them. So Smarm and Phil jump off the boat and Van Penis bails out of the plane into the water. They all manage to swim to the shore with the croc floating slowly behind them. Then Phil jumps on its back and kills it with a machete like it's just another day at the office. That evening they're celebrating Phil's kill, and now he's topless you can get a proper good look at how rubbish his scars are. I mean, look at them! It looks like someone just slopped a load of peanut butter on him. Anyway,
Yeah.
Phil is annoyed at Van Parrot being a dickhead and says, I'm not friends with you anymore. And you know what? I'm going to tell folk that I saw you drinking piss out of a boot round the back of B&Q. Later that night, and another croc turns up and pokes its head into Van Pratt's tent to have a loud nom on his ankles while he's sleeping. But he wakes up and freaks out as you would. So Phil helps him out of the tent, but for some reason, waits for the croc's head to be free of the tent before attacking it, which unfortunately costs Phil his life. Back to Scott and Kerry, and they find Monster Man lost in the woods. But one of the crocs sneaks up on them and chases them up a tree, where they all manage to fall asleep on a branch, in the rain, with a giant croc down below. Hey, I don't know. Unlucky.
Well, I mean,
07 for Phil.
Yeah. I mean, exhaustion, you know.
For Monster Man, he falls backwards off the tree, landing on the croc's back. But he doesn't realise he's on the croc's back because he's a fucking imbecile. So the croc drags him off into the bushes for yet another off-screen kill. Ugh.
The
So Snap
croc
comes up
gave
with
a
the
head
genius
nod,
plan to drop down
LOL.
from the tree and run away, which just flat out cannot go wrong. Except it immediately goes wrong, and they get surrounded, until Scarfy George rocks up and distracts the croc so they can get away. Luckily, they run into Sheriff Smarmoo, the grenade launcher, and he blasts one of the beasties' heads off. 2 down, 1 terrible CGI mess to go. So
Nice.
Smarmy leaves the kids with Sister Bickerman instead of just taking them home, for fuck's sake. And she says,
You know your dad's a dumb doofus, don't you?
and Scott's like, well, he may be a smarmy prick, but at least he's not a miserable, decaying wretch. So Smarmy heads back out to the croc den where he plans to lure it in and blow it up with some explosives. And despite the kids only being there for 5 minutes, Sister Bickerman gets offended by their youth and attractiveness, so she decides to feed them to the croc by the dock, because she's a cock. Kerry realises something's up though and tries to get away, but somehow is overpowered by this decrepit 90-year-old woman, which is fucking outrageous! But thankfully, the old bag loses her balance and ends up being eaten by the croc herself, thank God. So the croc chases Scott and Kerry back to the house, but gets bored and decides to go and pester Smarmy and the gang instead. It chases Wildlife Lady into a log, and she stabs it through the throat with a machete. Job done. So her and Smarmy share a really awkward kiss, as if they'd never kissed a human being before in their life. Phantom then falls off his log because he's stupid, but while he's hanging upside down, plot twist, there's a 4th croc, and it bites his head off, and then conveniently stands next to the explosives. So
Okay, so that's 3 arms and 2 heads. Oh no, wait, the first head was from the first movie. Okay,
First
never mind.
time.
So yeah, we're down 3 arms and 1 head.
Smarmy just fires a grenade at it, and both the croc and its nest go boom. So the day is saved, Scott and Kerry get together because of course they do, Scarfy George shows up again because he's a very good boy, and Wildlife Lady asks Smarmy if they want to go for dinner.
So finally give me a second chance at another date, huh?
3 arms and 1 head.
Condition.
What's that?
Stop being such a smarmy cunt. End of movie. Well, that's 1 Lake Placid sequel down and only 4 to go. God help me. Lake Placid 2 is a really awful movie. And an even worse sequel. The acting is terrible, the script is terrible, the visual effects are terrible, it's just all round terrible.
So why don't you talk to her already?
Lake Placid 3 is a 2010 creature feature directed by G.E. First. When a family move into the old Bickerman house on Black Lake, their young boy discovers a bunch of baby crocodiles nearby and decides to feed them in secret. But as the crocs begin to grow, so do their appetites, putting the residents of Black Lake in peril once again. So the movie begins with the usual sweeping aerial shots of Black Lake and, hey, Michael Ironside's in this one.
Hey, Michael
Well, that's a good
Ironside.
sign. Maybe I won't need to crack open my beers after all. Little did he know, but he was being lulled into a false sense of security. The poor bastard. We then see a smooching couple hitching a ride in the back of a truck, but they're so desperate to ride each other that they ask the driver to let them off.
Stop the truck. You can leave us here. It's fine.
Jesus, if this guy was any more cocksure, I'm pretty sure he'd be an actual cock. So they get off the truck, and while they're walking through the woods, the fella is having a nice big whinge.
What are the chances we're gonna get lost and, we're gonna die horribly?
Well, according to my calculations, there's an approximate 0.3% chance you'll die horribly, so don't worry, you're all good. Anyway, they get to the lakeside and jump in for some naked lake
We
loving.
have the sex scene
But
couple.
almost immediately leave the lake for some naked land loving. Oh yeah. But joke's on them because they're pulled back into the water one at a time and devoured by a bunch of mini crocodiles. And they are so cute and so deadly. Also, it seems my horrible death calculations were a bit off. We're then introduced to Daddy Blue
Just a
Shirt
bit.
and
I
Laddie
saw
Green
that.
Hat, who are apparently father and son,
Called
but
it.
I just don't believe them.
Yep.
So after telling the kid to go inside, Dadman stands at the end of the dock and has a flashback to an event in the previous movie that he wasn't there to witness, before returning to the house himself, and what the hell is that? I'm not having that dead head on my wall, Fred. Might fall off while I'm in bed. Nah, man, put the bugger in the shed before I fill you full of lead. So we then meet Dadman's wife, and damn, did people still have flip phones in 2010? That's mental, that is. She then walks over and opens the fridge to find a chainsaw in it. Nothing odd about that. I keep my chainsaw in the fridge too. Right next to the gammon. And me slippers. We then
And
find out
me
that Dadman is
slippies.
actually the nephew of Sister Bickerman from Lake Placid 2, and he's inherited her house after a pathetic demise.
Silent Hill game
and
be
Sheriff
like...
Sam Fisher turns up and immediately makes the movie better than the last one. So he says,
Well, I'd like to know what your aunt was doing feeding wild crocs.
Well, she was lonely.
and Michael's like, oh, that explains why she was feeding human beings to them then. Oh, no worries, I'll see you later. Meanwhile, the kid follows a lizard which leads him to the lakeside and gets eaten by a CGI crocodile rendered with Microsoft arse. Ugh. It looks as though the visual effects haven't improved much since the last one. So the crocs introduce themselves to
Microsoft
the lad saying,
ass.
hello, young fella. I'm Snappy, and this is my sister Scaly, and our younger brother, Brian. We then jump to 2 years later, and the kid goes for a cycle around town, which is the most obvious town set since Wrong Turn 5, which actually came out 2 years after this, but anyway. I mean, why not just film
That
it in a real
CGI
town?
is horrible.
Surely it would be more efficient than, you know, building a shit one, but what the hell do I know? Moving on. So on his way home, he stops off to visit the crocs he's been feeding on a regular basis, which is a very bad idea. And I don't know what's more irresponsible, keeping it a secret or not removing the packaging from the meat before feeding the bloody things. All right, I think it's time to crack open a good old can of shippy. That's better. Okay, now we can continue. Meanwhile, Sheriff Michael is responding to a call saying there's a big
Tomua
croc on the loose
production.
around the local gas station. But when he turns up, he finds this.
Oh, yeah. Rawr.
Cheeky bastards. If I was the sheriff, I'd punch him in the...
Oh, well, there you go.
Flank Michael never disappoints. Back to the family home, and what the fuck is that sat next to the babysitter? Anyway, she tells him the same thing I tell myself every morning.
Oh, you smell like dead goat. Go take bath.
But he just lies to her and says he needs to go to the shop to buy some...
Penny whistles and moon pie.
While she just stands on the porch holding whatever the fuck
Oh,
that thing is.
punch a
Oh, she
dick in
get
the
rid of it.
dick.
It's freaking me out.
Yep.
So the kid wanders into the store, which is the settiest set I've ever set my eyes upon, and we're treated to some downright rocking meat theft. But the store owner is like, stop stealing my meat, you little bastard. I had to wrestle that out of a lion's jaws. It took ages. Elsewhere, Dadman is walking through the woods trying to get a signal on his tiny little telly. But he accidentally bumps into this dumbass who says,
Thanks. I think you knocked out a filling.
knocked out a filling? What was it being kept in with? Play-Doh? Also, I've never seen her before. Oh, that's right, she played Crystal in Resident Evil Afterlife. Ah, what a stupid movie, which I enjoyed immensely. So, obviously, I'm going to call her Crystal. Anyway, Dadman shows the kids to the lakeside, where he finds the severed head of an elk. But instead of chowing down on it like he wants to, he plays it cool, and decides he's going to give Iron Michael a ring, as he suspects foul play. Scaly foul play. Back to the store, and Hot Mom turns up to defend her son, as you do.
Yeah, he just loves meat.
And now you've just made him look like a psychopath. Oh, and speaking of psychopaths, we're then introduced to Reba, the resident sex pest of Black Lake, whose introduction is her dropping some money on the floor so she can grab a young guy's ass. Nothing like a bit of sexual harassment to get you to warm to a character.
Hot mom, hot
And
mom.
this fella turns up and hires Reba to find his on and off girlfriend. Though why he picks Reba is anyone's guess. But she agrees so the plot can continue. Back at the kid's house, and he finds a cooked penis in the fridge, which he plans to feed to the crocs after the failure of his meat heist. But the babysitter and that indescribable terror follow the kid to the lakeside, and upon seeing the dangerous creature next to the kid, the crocs eat it to protect him, which is rather worrying as I'm pretty sure it was poisonous. Still in the woods, the babysitter falls over and gets a face full of dried mud before the crocodile shows up for another off-screen kill. Don't you pull this shit again, Lake Placid sequel. I want to see the kills, not imagine them.
Doggo no.
Michael shows up to meet Dadman, who isn't very happy that the police department don't have the tools needed to check the lake for giant crocodiles. So they just go and get tooled up with loads of guns instead. Arriving home, Hot Mum wonders where the kid is, before him and the babysitter show up covered in blood. Also, correct me if I'm wrong here, but her wounds do not seem consistent with that of a crocodile attack. I'm pretty sure her arm would have been ripped off, and her purse stolen. Back on the beach, and desperate Dick decides to sunbathe right below the blonde girl so he can look up her skirt because he's a creep. Say, he better get an on-screen death, or I'm gonna...
07
So the
for
girls go and
Doggo.
get changed into their swimsuits while pervy Jim wanks in the bushes. But thankfully, he gets snatched by a croc which drags him away, giving him a good chomp. Not a very good on-screen death, to be honest, but it seemed painful for him though, so I'm satisfied. Meanwhile, Dadman gets a call from his wife and she says, "But and he's like,
Try to speak a little more slowly and calm down.
Dadman's like, but I already ate
Deserved.
Then him and Iron Mike decide to go to the house anyway. Back to Budget Linda
And it
Hamilton,
bit him
and
on
she's
the
telling the guys
bum.
a story about how she shot a giraffe in captivity to prove that her philosophy is correct. That being...
Hunting's not fair. So there's no point in pretending otherwise.
Okay. Let's
What?
not get angry. Just drink your shippy. And let it go. It's fine. Everything is fine. What the fucking upside down rat bastard hell kind of philosophy is that? Shooting a giraffe in a zoo doesn't prove anything except that you're a terrible person. Did no one read this script and think, man, not only does that make no sense, but it makes the character seriously unlikable. That philosophy is stupider than a boat. And that boat looks stupid as fuck. Oh, and just so we're clear, a boat can't be a carnivore. It's an inanimate fucking object.
You're an inanimate fucking object!
One of the crocs is pissed off about this and all, so it gives the boat a good schlam and they all fall overboard. One of the fellas gets eaten and Reba starts swimming towards the croc with a knife, as if she's gonna win a fight with a crocodile underwater. But against her wishes, What's-His-Face pulls her to safety. And she's proper annoyed about it because she's stupider than a bellend's bellend. Then the other disposable fella with them finds a dead body and says,
I bet it was a shark. A big shark, a megalodon.
You were attacked by a crocodile
What?
not even 5 minutes ago! Why would it be a... Elsewhere, Crystal goes for a walk in the woods with the guy who looks like Dan Stevens broke his jaw in a cheesecake eating contest. And he's like, man, if I have to put any effort into making you like me, then forget it. I'm out of here. Elsewhere, blonde girl on the beach forgot to attend her class where they distinguished reptiles from mammals.
What the? Ellie? Aaron?
Red Bull drinking fast.
Oh yeah, and she gets eaten by the croc too. Back at the family home, the kid finally tells his mum about the crocodiles. And she's like, what are you, stupid? Then they look out the window and see two crocodiles just chilling. And she says,
Come away from the window, they can smell you through the glass.
no, they can see you through the glass.
Yeah.
They're not blind crocodiles, you dog nut. Then Iron Giant and Dadman turn up in the boat and start shooting the crocs, right before one of them absolutely obliterates their boat. Looks like we've
Holy
got another
crap.
blood surf style explosive toothed croc on our hands. Dadman obviously swims to the shore quicker than the sheriff, because Michael's right side is made of iron. But Michael manages to slow the croc chasing him by jamming a paddle in its mouth. Thankfully, he makes it back to the house relatively unscathed. A bit soggy, mind you, but all limbs intact. Meanwhile, Crystal and Mang Stuyvens return
Gasp
to the beach to
moment.
find the blonde girl's gone missing.
Right.
So Crystal starts getting worried and Mang says,
Is this what you wanted? A bit of time away from the world?
I wanted to forget about Pred for a few days. Not get lost in the land of the lost.
honest to God, man, somebody wrote that. I mean, that dialogue was
Doggo
written,
howls.
and somebody deemed it worthy enough.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. My mom's watching TV and the dog is howling along to the theme song of the show they're watching.
To make the final cut. I just can't. Anyway, they try and go and find their missing friends, but Mang gets fed up with Crystal not complimenting his necklace enough and says, you know what, you go
Oh
and
Lord,
find them.
wholesome.
I'm gonna go and try and find someone
Yeah.
to fix my broken jaw. So he leaves her like a dickhead and almost immediately gets killed off screen by the croc. Thanks, Lake Placid 3. Thanks for another unsatisfying death. Back to the family, and I think Michael's bump on the head has done more damage than I initially assumed.
Hey,
Naya.
I'm gonna go check and see what kind of shampoo you use.
What?
But thankfully, the Head and Shoulders gives Michael a plan. Him and Dadman are going to run out to the car and
Oh, he wanted an excuse. He was making an excuse to leave so they could talk privately.
the camera's going to be shaking all over the place, which makes Dadman drop the keys. Then as soon as they start the car, the croc is going to ram it. But don't worry, though, because they're way ahead of it. Because they've got Hot Mom shooting the fucker from the house like a boss. And if that doesn't work, then she's going to run outside and attack the bastard with a chainsaw. But she might get scared and drop it while she's running away because she's a bit of a spazzer. But that doesn't even matter, because then Dadman's going to pick it up and start chainsawing the fuck out of its tail. But that'll just make it mad. So it ends up chasing them back into the house. Now they've made no progress and the situation is worse than before because the croc's in the house now and Michael's still outside in the car. Yeah, I don't think they should stick to that plan. Honestly, it only
Yeah.
seems to put them in a situation worse than they were in before. But that's exactly what they fucking do. And unfortunately for Michael, the big croc drags the car into the lake with him in it, and just as he's about ready to poke it with his stick, it pulls him out of the car and eats him. For fuck's sake! There goes the film's lifeline. Oh well, on the
Iron
plus side,
Mike,
the plan did also lead to the
no!
babysitter getting eaten, so I guess they don't have to worry about paying her anymore. Elsewhere, Reebok and the gang are still wandering through the woods until they get ambushed by a croc in a bush, which they
Fucking
John
hell.
Woo to death. Then, while Reba's mate drops to a more convenient biting height, another croc jumps out and bites his head off, revealing that he was full of tomato soup. But then Reba gets grabbed by another croc and it starts to drag her away. And whatever the fuck his name is starts shooting at it with a shotgun, which ain't a good idea with her being in its mouth. And oh yeah, there we go, he shot Reba. Well done, you spanner. Then the croc just fucks off, because why not, eh? So she has an argument with Lado, and then she knocks him out. Then turns up at the family's place in
That's
her
2
boat?
hits now.
What? Are you telling me that Reba, with
Actually,
a shotgun wound
if we're counting heads across the movies, that would be 3.
to her shoulder, dragged that unconscious fella through the water, onto the boat, lifted him up onto the boat with one arm, because one's fucked, remember? And then...
Guess you can say, you can be in half.
the fuck out of here.
3 yes.
Well, they get to the family's house, but Thingy Face wants to go and find Crystal, so he does. He goes back out into the lake in Reba's boat shouting for her, and almost immediately finds her, because of course he does. But as he approaches, he sees a big wet croc waiting to give the girl a schlap, and somehow she doesn't see it, probably because it's a big CGI mess which isn't really there. So what the hell's his name crashes the boat into the croc like a lunatic, which sends him flying before he flaps around on the floor like a fish for a bit. So they're happy to see each other, blah blah blah. Then the croc wakes up because it ain't dead and it eats the fella, making both his and Crystal's storylines in this movie completely fucking pointless! Oh, and things aren't going very well back at the house because one of the crocs has broken in, so Reba decides to have a knife fight with it, which seems completely in line with how stupid her character is, so whatever. Also, I'm pleased that she will no doubt be dying soon, and whoa! Hang on a minute. She won? She fought the croc one-handed with a knife and won? Now, you see, that's the sort of shit I'm talking about. If you're gonna do stupid, then do full stupid. You must not hold back. You must embrace this stupid. So the gang end up finding Crystal, who is hysterical, so they tell her to shut the fuck up, and somehow make their way to Reba's boat and head down to the obviously fake town set for the final showdown. They break into the local store for shelter because it's wetter than a seal's arms outside, but the owner turns up and is like, oh, for God's sake, can you just stop stealing me meat, man? The crocs then hop into the shop and start wrecking the joint. Reba goes down swinging as she stabs one of them to death, and it seemingly kills her too. But I'm not convinced she's dead, because I've seen her name on the back of the DVD for the next dinner. Meanwhile, the family take off in the store owner's truck and get chased by the big croc before crashing into a gas station. So Dadman's plan head starts spinning again, and he uses one of the fuel pumps to spray the croc with gas, before scopping a lighter at it, and the croco goes kablamo. But how the hell the entire gas station doesn't explode is anyone's guess.
Yeah,
And
good
that's
question.
pretty much it. Dadman tells some kids that the main river crocodile is extinct, but then we see that it's clearly not, so he's full of shit. End of movie. Well, I guess it was a small improvement over Lake Placid 2. Not by much, mind, but having Michael Ironside in it definitely helped. As did the odd moment where they embraced the stupidness of it all. Will the next one be a more significant improvement? Find out next week as we dive into Lake Placid, the final chapter. Which isn't actually the final chapter, but is called the final chapter. Which is a lie. Lake Placid, the final chapter, is a 2012 creature feature directed by Don Michael Paul. The giant crocs of Black Lake are back again, but this time they've been fenced off to protect the public. However, when a high school bus trip takes a wrong turn and ends up in the enclosure, they quickly find themselves at the mercy of the giant killer crocs. So the movie begins with the aftermath of the grocery store showdown at the end of the last movie, and we see our resident crocodile knife fighter Reba, who isn't dead after all, just very disappointed that all the veg behind her will have to be thrown out. What a bloody waste. But surprise Reba, the croc under the shelf isn't dead, so she says,
You again? You really want to do this?
and the croc's like, actually, no, I'm pretty knackered, and I think I've bruised my ear. Can we just leave it and go home? But Reba ain't falling for its lies, so she kills it with a throwing knife, before we awkwardly cut to the title card. Now, is it just me, or did that CGI crocodile actually look a little bit better than the last one? Also, Reba throwing a knife at the crocodile is the sort of stupid crap we're after, so you're off to
These
a half-decent
movies
start,
must
final
be on
chapter.
Tubi.
Keep it up. We then see Reba on a boat with the new sheriff lady, and a fella
They
who
might
wants
be.
to catch one of the crocs for science or something. Oh, and Reba now works for the Fish and Game Commission, apparently. So Reba manages to trank one of the crocs, and the fella goes in after it with the most pathetic dive I've ever seen.
What was
They tie up the
that?
croc and cart it back to shore, and somehow, Reba and the fella are now completely dry. And they aren't the only ones. I used up all my shippy on the last movie.
Aww.
Oh.
Sad.
Good job I have a big old bottle of Jackie as backup. Sheriff lady has a crack with this army guy, who I'm just going to call Big Doof. But once they get the croc on the truck, a bigger croc turns up and starts chasing them down the road, shouting, "Don't worry, Sandra, I'll save you. Oh, why do I have such short, stubby legs?"
Lordy coming.
To a Jurassic Park-style electric fence. And to be honest, I'm glad to see that Black Lake has finally been fenced off. It only took 4 bloody movies to get there, but there we go. Anyway, the croc is gaining on them, and Laldoof struggles to get the gate open. So Reba says,
"Watch this shit, you're gonna love it."
"Oh, am I, Reba? Am I really?" And she reverses right into the croc, knocking it over and giving them a chance to escape. Nope, I didn't love it. I thought it was adequate. So Laldoof is apparently...
Okay, unironically, I actually like Reba.
apparently Big Doof's son.
That boy coming.
Makes sense with them both having a surname Doof. Later that day, Laldoof demonstrates how little fucks he gives by sitting with his back to the fence. But then he hears something which sends a shiver down his spine.
Porky?
Oh, good lord, what manner of unspeakable monstrosity is this going to be? Oh, it's a turkey.
Yep.
So Laldoof sticks a bit of brown something on the end of a stick and tries to feed it. But the turkey's thinking, I'm not going to eat that. It's brown and on the end of a stick. Then a croc with poor eyesight rocks up and says, I'll have it, but accidentally grabs the turkey instead. This silly bugger. It should have gone to Specsavers. Meanwhile, Sheriff Lady and her daughter Chloe go for a coffee and run into Chloe's beautiful friend Elaine.
Oh,
So
hey,
Elaine tells her
turkey.
that there's still room on their weekend camping trip and convinces Chloe to come along. Otherwise, she'd miss out on most of the movie. Then we see Croc Scientist fella rock up with a bunch of guns for hire, and one of them is the absolute legend
Robert Englund!
Oh yeah, Lake Placid sequels. Now you're cooking with gas instead of just ass. So their plan is to sneak into the enclosure and bag themselves some giant croc eggs, which will make them a lot of money on the black market. So they really easily
It's Freddy
sneak past
Krueger
Laldoof,
himself.
as he's conveniently got his earphones in and he's back to them the entire time. What a bloody cabbage. Back to the sheriff, and they're having a town meeting about the crocodiles, but the townsfolk aren't happy with their
Oh,
snappy
Mr.
neighbours,
Freddy Krueger
especially this
himself.
guy.
We want those damn things dead. You swore up and down it was safe.
I am British and cannot act very well. So Sheriff Lady tells them that the army's built a fence to keep them in, so they should stop whinging about it, go home and drink a nice tall glass of shut the fuck up. Then after the meeting, Big Doof asks Sheriff Lady
Start
to dinner,
off smiling.
'cause they used to date a while back, and she's like, well, I was going to have a wank and watch Columbo tonight. Not at the same time, mind you, but yeah, dinner sounds good too. Elsewhere, Chloe is chatting to her friends about the book she's been reading. Then this rodent walks over and says,
Who reads?
Clearly not you. The closest you've ever got to a book is reading the joke on an ice lolly stick after sucking it off. Oh, God. I really shouldn't say that. But, fuck it. Just leave it in, it'll be fine. Also, what the hell is wrong with the face of the guy that Chloe fancies? He's supposed to be the hot guy, but he just looks like he's got the fucking mumps. Back to Freddy and his goons, and I think he's
So mean.
confused about what animal he's hunting.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Kitty, 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 kitty.
Then they get attacked by a slippery scoundrel and run away honking like a gaggle of geese, with this one fella getting cornered next to an electric fence, and being a clumsy kleppert, he falls backwards into it for a rather shocking death. Which is currently the best kill so far.
Freddy, no.
It was so unexpected that it sure gave me a jolt. Hours later, and Laldoof finally turns round and thinks, what? Where did all these cars come from? I didn't order any cars. The only thing I've ordered recently is some situational awareness, but it still hasn't arrived yet. Then he hears a scream from inside the enclosure, so instead of calling it in,
Dad
he opens
jokes.
the gate and almost immediately gets dragged away by a croc, leaving the gate wide open. Well done, you incompetent turbot. We then cut to Chloe and Elaine on the coach trip, which, for some reason, set off at night. And instead of concentrating on the road, the driver is watching a video on his phone thinking, ooh, I do love a woman in her underwear. Ooh, I'm a right perv, I am. Then he almost runs him off the road because he's a dumbass. So budget Chris Cooper tells him to keep his eyes on the road, but he just goes straight back to his underpants video. And without even looking at the road, he not only manages to take the wrong turn, but also drives into the open Black
Bro,
Lake enclosure.
you can't watch that.
Oh, that plot convenience is so stupid, I actually love it. Next, the brother rock up to the lake and knock over the crocodile warning sign. Oh, stop it, final chapter, you're killing me here. Meanwhile, Big Doof and Sheriff Lady rekindled their relationship by having a romantic candlelit takeaway. Smooth, Doof. Very smooth. And
Watch
she's all
what?
like, stop trying to eat my cheek
Stop
and
the
kiss
movie
me
and
already.
just gasp
Elsewhere,
at the
Croc
logic
Scientist fella
goth.
is lost
What happened? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
in the woods. and seems to think that he's in The Walking Dead. Rick! Then he gets night vision jump scared to death by a croc. Oh! I thought we got past the off-screen kills, damn it! Ugh, looks like it's back to the drawing
Do the
board.
O face.
You mean that one?
I drew a crocodile's head with the body of a pizza.
So Chloe's having a chat with Mumps about his bulbous face, and he actually seems like a nice guy. So, as is tradition in these movies, I give him about 10 minutes before he turns into a dickhead. Bloody hell, that wasn't even 5 minutes! Which incidentally is what she said.
Damn.
Then these two girls decide to go for a freezing cold night swim like a pair of Egypts. But the bus driver just walks over and casually starts pissing in the lake, saying, "Hi, ladies." Which I thought was
Bro
funny
took
as
the
hell,
wrong
but they
turn
don't
from
really
watching the
understand.
videos,
The
Eden.
driver is so distracted by his own lack of shame that he forgot to look down, because there's a big croc down below and it bites his knob off, and then gives him a...
Why? Why must we do that? I hate it when movies do that. It's not it's funny what they were going for because it's not funny at all. It's unnecessary. I hate it and I wish I'd stop doing it.
Noob bites cano sausage.
Kill. I like it. In the morning, Budget Chris Cooper, who I'm going to call Sniff Pooper,
Well,
is
I
looking for
guess
the
you
bus
can
driver,
say he
but he can't
stopped
find him
being a
anywhere 'cause
dick.
he's
Oh,
dead.
shut
Then
up,
Ruth rocks up on a jet
guys.
ski and asks if anyone wants to go for a ride.
Stop
Then,
it.
surprisingly, Rodent jumps at the chance, and Elaine says,
She does have a great ass, though.
Filthy, but genuinely arousing.
Great ass, though.
I'm sorry, what great ass are we looking at? Bitch,
LMAO
where?
rolling on the floor laughing, we love getting you.
Yeah. But seriously.
surprisingly, Rodent jumps at the chance, and Elaine says,
I'm sorry, what great ass are we seeing here? Bitch, where? She doesn't really have, she has no hips. She's got boy hips and she has no ass, so what are you talking about?
She does have a great ass, though.
No, she doesn't.
But genuinely arousing.
Elsewhere, Reba, Sheriff Lady, and Big Doof meet up with Deputy Norville and find the gate to the enclosure is open, and Lal Doof is nowhere to be seen. Lady finds a big old trail of strawberry jam on the floor, and Reba says it's fresh, so there must be some toast nearby, and they follow it. Back on the lake, and this dumbass gets so excited by Mumps snogging Rodent that his boner knocks him off his jet ski. Then he gets shredded by a cyclone of baby crocs, which are as adorable as they
Hot
are
cop
vicious.
mom.
Meanwhile, Chloe is having a walk in the woods when she finds Little Doof on a platform in the trees. Apparently, the croc just had a harsh word with him instead of eating him. He then points out that they're all inside the enclosure.
Why aren't you dead? What, was he saving you for later or something?
And Chloe's like,
I picked the wrong week. Quit sniffing glue.
Down on the beach, and the crocs are thinking, we've kept our presence quiet for long enough. It's time to wreck some motherfuckers. So they start munching folk left and right, with this one guy practically exploding like a fleshy piñata. Back to Sheriff and the gang, and they find a croc chilling by some rocks. So Big Doof fills it full of lead, so he can pop its mouth open and have a good ratch around. He then pulls out a nice spine and ribs combo. Then Sheriff Lady says,
What is it?
I think it was Gary. Who's Gary? How the fuck should I know? So the young'uns and Sniff all meet up and walk through the woods looking for help. But instead they find an abandoned hunter's camp, with a dead hunter having a good chinwag with a croc in a tent. The croc is annoyed that they interrupted the conversation, so it chases them. And Rodent accidentally springs
Brew
one of the
pulled a
hunter's crocs and gets
Sub-Zero
one
on
upside
Noob.
down, before the croc
He
shows up
did
and
the
bites her head
Sub-Zero.
off.
Oh, that's
Silly bugger doesn't look like
head
she's going, and she
number
ends up falling
4.
into a big pit thinking, oh no, I have fallen into a pit with a deceased man. Surely this situation cannot possibly deteriorate further. Oh, it has. Oh, dearie me. Lal Doof then turns up to find Chloe
I was
holding back
wrong.
the
I was
croc
horribly
with her bare
wrong.
hands, which is so ludicrous it made me choke. So Lal
Yeah.
Doof throws a big rock at it, which bounces off and nearly smashes Chloe in the face. Then she finds a tranq rifle, shoots the croc, and then beats it unconscious with the butt of the gun.
Guess you can
This is
say
one
Croc's
inept
got good
crocodile.
heads
I've seen
rolling
more
on the
effort to
floor
kill someone from
laughing.
a guinea pig. Then the rest of the teens find the
Good
headless
Lord.
rodent, with Elaine thinking, oh well, at least they didn't eat her great ass.
Filthy.
Elsewhere, Sheriff and the gang are combing the lakeside when they find the croc scientist fella, who isn't
What
dead after
for
all,
you wrong
but is missing
for?
a digit or two. So they hop off the boat and Reba says,
Normal, tie up the back of the boat. Need first aid here. I'm on it.
also keep an eye out for any crocs.
I'm on it.
And stop saying you're on it.
I'm on it.
Back to Chloe in the death pit.
Is that what he said? I'm on it.
What
All
a
I
good ass.
Maybe. Is that what he was saying? I'm on it. All I got was I'm on it.
She hears a phone ringing
I'm
from
on
inside
it.
the unconscious croc's mouth.
Back
So
say
she opens
it.
it up to reach inside. And I can't believe it. But we've actually got a scene of suspense in a Lake Placid sequel. Not particularly good suspense, mind you, but suspense nonetheless. So she gets the phone and rings her mum to tell her that they're inside the fence. But then the phone gets cut off just before Lal Doof turns up with a rope to get her out of the hole. Reba and the gang aren't too lucky though, because their boat is rammed by a big croc and they all fall off into the water and have to swim to shore. Reba makes it back and shouts, Norville, you've got to swim faster! Then he immediately gets eaten. Poor Norville. He just wasn't on it fast enough. Then croc scientist fella gets pulled under a bus and chomped by a sneaky one
Hot
saying,
cop mom.
I ate your fingers and now I've come back for the rest of you. So yeah,
Aww.
he dies for real this time. Back to the teens at the hunter's camp and they're cooking some soup over a fire. Then Lal Doof finds a boat key in the tent. And in a decision which boggles the mind, he tells everyone he's found
He
it
wasn't
by
on
tossing
it.
it in the soup. Then immediately picks it out of the soup. Why
Huh?
the fuck did he throw it in the soup? Anyway, they reckon the boat can't be far, so they walk.
What? The hell was that about? Oh my gosh! Wow.
Down to the lakeshore, and sure
I-
enough, they
I-
find
I
the boat.
just
And wouldn't you know,
have no
there's a
words.
Freddy on board. They tell him they found
What
the boat
did
key,
he?
and Mump says,
You swim back here and get it?
he's only 20 feet away, just throw in the damn key. But no, instead Lal Doof decides to swim over with it. Then the rest of them follow, apart from Sniff Pooper, as he doesn't want to get his nose wet, so he decides to just stay back and get eaten. So they take off on the boat and Freddy tries to get friendly with Elaine, but she's like, fuck off Freddy, you fucking
The franchise is just
So
rotting
Freddy
my
takes them to the
brain.
old Bickerman place and we find out that he's actually part of the Bickerman family too. Bloody hell, this family's got more members than a sex toy shop. So he tells the teens that he's planning to find the croc eggs and asks if they want in on it. But they don't want to help him because he smells a bit musky, so he just leaves them in the house. It doesn't take long for him to find the eggs though, so he fills his bag full of them. The teens set the fireplace going in hopes that the smoke will alert Sheriff and the gang to their whereabouts. But Elaine wanders into the back room and finds one of the crocs inside, which grabs her by the waist. Thankfully, Chloe saves her by giving it a good chop with an axe. Then they run outside and it looks as though their smoke signal worked, as Sheriff and the gang turn up just in time. Reba fends off an attacking croc with a rifle before Freddy shows up again, and Reba's like, arrest him, he's an egg pilferer. But Freddy grabs Lal Doof as a hostage and takes off, while the others are attacked again by a croc. Mump's being a catastrophic moron decides the best way to escape the croc is to dive into the lake, which obviously ends with the crocodile eating him. Then all of a sudden it's night time and the lasses are chased to the fence by a pursuing croc. And Sheriff Lady tries to shoot it with a shotgun from about 50
Freddy's
feet
back.
away, which
Ha ha.
obviously does nothing. So she changes tactics and jumps out of the way as the croc lunges for her, and the scaly bugger gets fried by the electric fence, good and proper. Then it's
Yay.
daytime again and Freddy finds himself on the lakeshore, and all the eggs in his bag have been smashed. Then he sees a big croc waiting to give him what for, and I don't think I've ever seen someone so
hot cop
jovial
mom.
about their impending doom.
No, she's fine.
Then it rips him a new one. Goodbye, Freddy. I will miss your musky
Oh.
scent. So now everyone is safe. Sheriff Lady and Chloe still get on a bit too well for my liking, while Big Doof and Lal Doof continue to be the most unconvincing father and son I've ever seen in a movie. And as for Reba, well, she's taken the dead croc's head home as a trophy. Look at its fucking head! I mean, look at its eyes, for God's sake. Not to mention that it's significantly smaller
Now
than
Fred
the
is
one that was
dead
killed there.
07.
Hey, since when has any of this shit made any sense? End of movie. Well, I've got to say that I think Lake Placid, the final chapter, was actually a decent improvement over the last two sequels. I mean, it's still not great, like, but
The
I
way
certainly
that
found it
Clark
more
ran
enjoyable,
heck
which was a
know
nice
that
surprise.
fast.
Lake Placid vs. Anaconda is a 2015 creature feature directed by A.B. Stone. Scientists experimenting with crocodile and snake DNA within the Black Lake enclosure accidentally released the giant monsters which make their way to the nearby Clear Lake. So it's up to the local sheriff to stop them once and
Gasp.
for all. So the movie begins in the Black Lake enclosure, and already someone has broken in to capture one of the crocodiles. Oh, when will they learn?
Noob
You
vs
can't
Shine.
melt a flake in the microwave. But hang on a minute. Who's that? No, it can't be. It is! Freddy's back! Oh, yes!
Oh no,
And
got
this time
look
he's
at the
cosplaying
key.
as Robert Englund,
I see
cosplaying as a
it.
pirate. Oh man, I'm just glad he's still alive and kicking. One-legged kicking. Freddy and some goons take the croc to this camouflaged big rig, inconspicuously parked right next to the bloody gate, in which some sneaky science bastards are doing sneaky bastard science, led by Dr. ADR, who says,
"What we're doing here is very
Freddy
precise."
lives.
But what the hell?
Oh my
Oh,
god,
Freddy
that...
Krueger survived.
Yep. Oh my god, that ADR is horrible. Jesus.
Hell are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing?
Freddy gets his big bag of money for helping them. Then this scientist walks by and says,
Excuse me. Whoa, watch the hook, man.
hang on a second. Was that purposefully stupid dialogue? If it was, more of that please, movie. So Freddy gives this Silver Fox fella a bit of paper with some numbers on it. And now that he has his money, he just wants to take off. But Silver Fox won't let him, saying that he still owes him the last 3 numbers. And Freddy's like, what are you talking about, man? Numbers go on to infinity, you penis.
You penis.
It is stupid on purpose. They've finally done it. Oh, man, I'm so happy I might just eat this shoe. Just not on camera. So, Dr. ADR and his assistant inject the giant female anaconda with the croc DNA in hopes that it will make her give birth to bigger, stronger snakes or something? I don't know what the hell's going on, but it really doesn't matter because the croc wakes up when it ain't supposed to.
That's not possible. I gave that thing enough tranquilizer to knock out an elephant for 12 hours.
You know this isn't an elephant, right?
It's not? No wonder my elephant tranquilizers don't work. And the croc goes apeshit and gives Dr. ADR a good old chomp. And while thrashing around, it accidentally breaks open the snake cages, so the anacondas get loose too. Luckily, Freddy manages to get out of there and peg-legs it into the woods with his big bag of cash, leaving Silver Fox to spray the croc's face full of sticky white stuff. Semen. But having the intelligence of a tin of peck, Silver Fox crashes the truck through the electric fence, leaving all the crocs and anacondas thinking, oh, the gate's open. Fancy going to check out Clear Lake? I've heard there's plenty of grub over there. We then cut to a fella from the Fish and Wildlife Service turning up to confront this deer hunter, who says,
Hey, Dolly!
what the fuck was that? Something's gone wrong with you, sir. Anyway, Mr. Fishlife ain't happy that Fat Man and his fat son have been deer hunting in the area, so he tells them to fuck off home and get the Wii Fit out. Then we're back to Black Lake, which the movie conveniently tells us is 6 miles from Clear Lake. I'm not being sarcastic either. That information is genuinely convenient. Well, I thought it was, so shut up. And we're about to meet the new sheriff of Black Lake. Now, who could this be? Oh, good lord, it's Reba.
Of course it is.
Poor town. Anyway, she gets accosted by the
I
town
love
mayor,
Reba,
who's
you
heard
shut
that
up.
someone local has gone missing near the croc enclosure, and he says,
Is this something that I should be worried about?
and Reba's like, get any closer and I'll give you something to worry about, you in-my-face prick. Also, stop eating kippers for breakfast. Your breath smells like decaying smoked fish. So the mayor fucks off shouting,
Ice cream.
MILF.
The mayor has coupons for free ice cream. Coupons for free ice cream, everyone.
oh, I want some free ice cream. Norville, go and get me some free ice cream. Then Reba gets a call from Deputy Vitamin D Deficiency, who says there's been an accident at one of the enclosure gates. So that's where Reba heads off to. Elsewhere, this half-naked chick wakes up after a classy and dignified evening to find someone knocking on her door. And I don't know where they got dollar store Chad Kroger from, but I think he desperately needs his nickel back. Anyway, they start shagging, but there's a crocodile under the bed thinking, oi, I'm trying to sleep under here. So he eats them. Off screen. Then all of a sudden we're in New York City at the Wexel Pharmaceuticals building, where we see bad business lady talking bad business with Silver Fox. She's telling him why the snakes are so important and says,
Have you ever heard of the blood orchid?
whoa, hang on. Is this actually part of the Anaconda series? I thought they just banged the Anaconda name on it for shits and giggles, but oh man, I'm well on board with this now. Anyway, Silver Fox watches Bad Lady's silhouette as she explains how the super anaconda's DNA can be mixed with the giant croc DNA to make miracle cures for people, which are worth a damn fortune. This plot is incredibly stupid, and I approve. We then cut to some college chicks on their way to Clear Lake for some sort of sorority sisters trial thing, and the group leader takes great pleasure in chastising the rest of them.
You are some sorry-ass losers. If you want to get in, you're gonna have to prove yourselves.
How about new?
What in the fuck?
Crazy Dutch bastard.
Seriously though, this just plays a total bitch really well. She clearly had a lot of fun doing this. The other notable ladies in the group are the meek one, who I'm going to call Fringe, the alternative one, who also has a fringe, but I'm going to call Nose Ring, and the blonde one next to her, who's the daughter of Mr. Fishlife, so I'm just going to call her Pancake. because I like pancakes. Anyway, Pancake gives her dad a call
Fair
and
enough.
asks if he's turned her room into a man cave yet now that she's off to college. And he says,
Yes, indeed. I just hung a flat screen up in there, got it all cleaned out, put a lazy boy in there.
Then we see her room and there's no flat screen TV or lazy boy in there. That man's a liar! A bald-faced liar! Back in the woods, and that heavy hunter is out looking for his third lunch when he gets savaged by a cascade of mini crocs. Then his fat son turns up and is like, "Hey, leave some for me, will ya?" Elsewhere, Sheriff Reba turns up to the burnt-out big rig from the beginning, but Deputy Vitamin D gets a bit too close for comfort.
Ferguson, just a little personal space.
So Reba gives Mr. Fishlife a call, but he thinks it's his daughter again and answers with,
"Sweetie, 2 times in one day, huh?"
And Reba's all like, "The fuck did you just call me?" And Fishlife says,
"Jeez, I am really sorry. Thought you were my daughter."
Could be. My mom dated a lot of guys.
What?
What?
Oh, this is brilliant, man. I actually quite like Reba in this one. And the laughs just keep coming as the college chicks are now at the beach, and Blondie is having a hoot being a bitch.
That's it, you're out. You didn't make it. Come on, leave. I'm just kidding. You can get back in line. Get
What?
back in line.
So Bitchy Blonde tells the girls to get in the lake, except Fringe, who she makes dig a big hole in the sand.
That reminds me of that scene in the beginning of Click, where he goes to congratulate his son, but he gets the wrong kid. And the kid's like, "You're not my dad!" And Adam Sandler goes, "Yeah, as far as you know." And the kid goes, "What? Mommy?"
And instead, the girls are all a bit scared to go in the water, though, because it's wet. But this one girl just goes right in and, oh no, something's attacking her from under the water! But it just turns out to be a couple of jocks, who have apparently been holding their breath underwater since the girls got there. Pancake and Nosering then get a short scene of character development, which is both unexpected and appreciated, while the other girls get hammered and arse about, quite literally. I mean, there is a lot of ass in this movie. Meanwhile, Mr. Fishlife meets up with Reba, and they wait for Deputy Vitamin D to finish having his daily 2 o'clock sick. Then they go to the burned-out big rig and discuss the possibility of the crocs escaping from the enclosure. But Fishlife finds that the tracking system has mysteriously stopped working, which Reba agrees is odder than an armadillo with no armour. An illo, if you will. We then get this incredible scene of Bad Lady arriving in the town of Black Lake, where she gets out of the car to shout "hey" at her security, then gets back in the car so they can open the door for her to get out. Oh man, I am having a hoot with this movie. So much of a hoot that I appear to have attracted the attention of an unwanted owl outside. Shut up! I'm watching a movie! I said shut up! Bad Lady and Silver Fox find our good old pirate mate Freddy, who's like, "Ah, Miss Bad Lady."
Long time no partially see.
And once again, they're forcing to help them. Back on the beach, and that same girl in the lake is pretending to be attacked by something again. Jeez, talk about wanting attention. Oh, she's actually being attacked by a croc this time. I'll let her off then. This time. So the rest of the girls run out of the lake screaming, and Bitchy Blonde pushes her friends into the jaws of a croc so she can get away, which, while awful, is not as bad as the fact that Fringe will likely never finish that hole she was digging.
Goth,
The girls
long
make it back to
time
the cars,
partially
but then they realise
see.
they've left their keys on the beach. Elsewhere, Bad Lady and the gang are following their snake tracking devices until Freddy gets attacked by a wild, scaly rug, which thankfully is harmless. But Freddy says,
I'm fine. Just fine. Thanks for asking.
"Oh, you're very welcome, Freddy. See, it doesn't hurt to be polite now, does it, Freddy? No, you just go and carry on with your business, Freddy, and I'll keep watching." Freddy. Back to Reba and Fishlife, and they find some croc tracks in the woods, which, to their surprise, leads them to a croc. And it looks like it's about to eat Reba. Then all of a sudden, a great big anaconda drops out from a tree and wraps up the croc so tightly that the damn thing explodes like a gory water balloon, leaving Reba and Fishlife thinking, "Holy shit! That was fucking awesome!"
Anaconda. The green anaconda, that's the largest species in recorded history.
Yeah, that thing wasn't just large. It's all it was.
Brown, not green. Elsewhere, the girls are still in
Yeah.
the car, but Nosering hotwires it so they drive away and casually wreck a couple of crocs in the process. They don't get very far though, because a downed tree is blocking the road. And to make matters worse, that massive green anaconda rocks up saying, "I'm going to crush this car like a puny little ant." So everyone jumps out of the car apart from Blue Bikini Best Bum, who bravely decides to stay behind and show everyone what it's like to be crushed to death. Oh, and Bitchy Blonde starts crying,
my
so
God.
Pancake and Nosering try to console her, saying there's nothing you could have done. But she's actually crying about the car because her dad just bought it for her. Oh man, this is too good. Deputy Vitamin D then meets up with Reba and Mr.
We love a
Fishlife.
good bitch character, huh?
They find where the girls park the cars and it's a right mess. Back to Bad Lady and the gang, and they're on a boat now, making their way towards the snake signal. But she doesn't think they're going fast enough, so she hits the gas and poor old Freddy falls overboard. Silver Fox wants to go back and get him, but Bad Lady is very bad and says, "No, I don't wanna.
Yes,
he
we
wouldn't show
do.
me under his eye patch, so fuck him." Then once again, Freddy is attacked and killed by a crocodile.
No!
Bye-bye, Freddy. I tell you, if by some magnificent miracle he's not dead, again, I am gonna piss myself laughing. The girls, meanwhile, are walking in the woods when Bitchy Blonde
same.
falls over and finds herself face to face with a croc. So keeping completely in line with
07
her character,
again.
she decides to punch it in the face to
He
show it
ate
who's
his
boss.
ass.
And the croc says, "Ow, that hurt. Why would you do that?"
Ow, that hurt, young lady.
No, it doesn't really, it just eats her. Then an anaconda shows up and starts constricting the croc while it's chowing down. The girls are really freaking out now, but then bang, bang, bang! Bang, bang, bang! The snake gets shot by Fish Life and Reba. Yay! So he and his daughter are reunited at last. Back to Bad Lady, and she says,
All right, Beach. You've had that look on your face since we got off the boat. What is it?
"My name's not Beach, Beach." So they keep looking for the snake until Bad Lady says,
She's right here.
What do you mean, right here? The only thing I'm seeing out here is you, me, and Mr. Happy.
Then all of a sudden... No! Mr. Happy! Oh, and he was only 20 years away from retirement. Reba and the others then find Deputy Vitamin D lost in a ditch. And I've got to say, I love the dynamic between him and Reba. It's genuinely funny. Anyway, they head out into a clearing and find a pair of crocs chowing down on an anaconda. But then Silver Fox and Bad Lady rocks up and she's all like, "Don't you shoot my snakes or I'll kick you in your left nostril." So she whips out a tranq gun to shoot the snake with and says a helicopter is en route to extract it.
Beach?
"Stop calling me Beach, Beach." Then the really big anaconda shows up and does this.
I wanna go to the beach, beach. Holy shit.
Was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Was even more fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The anaconda crushes the last croc and starts wrapping up Silver Fox before it swallows him whole. Then we see him from inside the snake and he pulls the pin on a grenade and says,
"Bye-bye, baby."
and the snake goes kablamo mcsplatto. Oh,
Damn.
man, this film is everything I hoped it would be. Literally the only thing that could make it better now would be...
Okay, here we go.
How are you alive?
Looks like Shang Tsung won. Oh, never mind.
How are you alive?
Oh, they actually did it. Oh, man, I fucking love this film. Oh, the best thing is I didn't even piss myself. Oh, what a treat. So the day is saved, loads of the good guys survived, and Reba even gives Deputy Vitamin D a compliment.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
Good job. Space. Ferguson.
Okay.
This film did something I thought impossible. It turned Reba into a nice character. Then in a final tease, which we may never see a follow-up to, we see some eggs by the lakeshore, and one of them hatches revealing a snake-crocodile hybrid. Brilliant. Just fucking
A
brilliant.
what?
End of movie. Honestly, I don't think I could have enjoyed this movie more than I did. Sure, it's got many of the typical low-budget issues that all these films have, but unlike the others, it's genuinely funny, brilliantly cheesy, and has some downright badass anaconda on croc moments. I think this is easily the best of the Lake Placid sequels, and the perfect end to the franchise. But hang on a second.
Anub Saibo and
This
Shang
isn't
Tsung
the final Lake
hybrid.
Placid movie. Well, cover me in caramel and kiss me in an elevator as we dive into the last movie in the series so far, Lake Placid Legacy. Lake Placid Legacy is a 2018 creature feature directed by Darrell Root. A group of environmental activists are offered a large sum of money to uncover the secrets of a secluded island, but end up becoming trapped and hunted by a giant crocodile. So the movie begins with some credits which don't know whether they're coming or going. I mean, do you want us to see these damn credits or not? Make up your mind, movie! Then we're introduced to our merry bunch of characters, except none of them are merry, and calling them characters is a bit generous. But anyway, they're sitting in a van planning to break into a big company building and hang a banner over the side of it, because they're environmental activists, you see, which automatically makes them the most likeable and relatable characters we've seen in a Lake Placid movie.
Oh, by the way, I was being sarcastic.
One girl in the van, who I'm going to call Little Miss Questions, or just Little Miss because it's easier, must be a journalist or something because she's questioning them about their plans and says,
So that makes break and enter okay?
It's not being if we don't steal and nobody gets hurt.
no, that just means it's not theft or assault. You're still
Yeah.
breaking in and unlawfully entering the building, you dumbass. I'm going to call this guy Wankor, because as you'll see as the movie progresses, he's both a wanker and has the intelligence of a rancor with learning difficulties. The others in the van are Little Miss's sister, Schlurple de Purple, who isn't wearing purple yet, but she will, and the tech guy who looks like a budget Will Poulter, so I'm going to call him Willy Poultry. Anyway, the leader of the group turns up looking like a homeless John Wick who got slapped with a dick, so I'm going to call him John's Dick. And off they go to do some not at all illegal breaking and entering. We also see some random guy running through the woods at night, but it's dark as hell, the camera work is terrible, and we've been given no context for it, so fuck knows what's going on. He runs around like a wazzock for a bit, then falls over and gets dragged away by something we don't see. Confusing and pointless. Moving on. Back to our group, and they've apparently stumbled into a spaceship of some kind. Oh, and Willy Poultry is filming all of this on his GoPro.
What did he say?
Because documenting your criminal activity on video is something only the most intelligent of criminals would do.
Oh, by the way, I was being
sarcastic.
So they get out onto the balcony and prepare to hang the big banner off the side of the building which says, Winoco equals death.
Winoco equals death? But I have shares in Winoco. Oh, dearie me, what am I to do? Oh, I know. I'll buy more shares in Winoco because I don't fucking care. So what's to be gained from hanging this banner off the side of the building anyway? Well, Little Miss is wondering the same thing and asks,
What does that even get you? It makes the evening news.
But you're hanging it in the early hours of the morning. And you've also set off the alarm, so the company's clearly going to find it before the morning, so chances are no one's even going to see the bloody thing. But unbelievably, we then see it on the news the next day, which means that it wasn't taken down before the morning. But why? Probably because the banner was about as effective as an umbrella made from toilet paper and toothpicks. Anyway, they all celebrate their accomplishment with a cheap bottle of lager while being very dull, self-righteous and fully clothed. Oh, I can already tell we ain't getting any TNA in this one, folks. So they talk about calling it quits with the whole breaking and entering malarkey, as they're worried they'll get caught sooner or later. That is until they get a video message from some poncy-looking fella, who I'm going to call Tony Osser, or Tosser.
Tosser. I knew he was going to say that.
To make $100,000 if they take this job from a private donor. But he never actually says what the job is. He only gives them a location on a secluded island to go to. So for the sake of the plot, they head off to the location Tosser mentioned, and we're introduced to this young lady, to whom acting is clearly not her forte.
You're crazy to want to go in there.
I'm going to call her Squirrel, because as you'll see later, she's nuttier than a coked-up squirrel and a big bag of nuts. Anyway, she thinks the place is irradiated for some reason, but Team Dull still want to go anyway, because a little radiation never hurt anybody. But before long, they come face to face with an electric fence. But I tell you, if anybody pretends to be electrocuted, I'm going to be annoyed.
No! Whoa, no!
You son of a bitch.
So they venture beyond the gate, and Willy Poultry combines some dirt with some chemical mixture and says, just as I suspected, purple. We then get our first look at the lake, and is it just me, or does the back half of this lake look fake as shit? So they start crossing the lake to reach their destination for the job they know nothing about, and Wankor just can't help being loud and obnoxious.
Row, row, row your boat gently up the lake.
You guys see?
And home!
Shut the fuck up!
At the other side of the lake, they walk past some construction equipment, which may as well have a sign next to it saying to be used against the croc at the end. After some more boring-ass walking through the woods, Team Dull as fuck happen upon Tosser's abandoned camp and think, great, if we can't even find him, then how are we supposed to know why we're here? So they find a GoPro and watch some footage of Tosser in distress.
What was that?
What if someone's still here?
Yeah, some damn hillbilly psycho with an axe to grind, literally.
Yeah, because that massive guttural growl clearly came from a hillbilly, you techno-anus. Then Little Miss finds some gore on the ground and starts to scream like a girl, because she is one. But Wankor thinks it's all an elaborate prank set up by Tosser, so he follows the blood trail shouting at trees like a bellend, before they find half a guy hanging in one of them.
Oh no, that poor guy who we have no idea who he is. How will we ever go on? Easily, and with no shits given.
So in a panic, they head back to the boat and something knocks into it from under the water. Then Squirrel's leg gets caught in the boat rope, and she gets pulled into the water. And for some reason, everyone starts freaking the fuck out. If I saw someone get yanked into a lake like that, I would have probably collapsed with laughter, but oh well. Also, why are they concerned about anyone being in the water? They haven't even seen the croc yet, so he might have just been a playful beaver tugging the boat for all they know. Anyway, John's dick dives in to help the soggy squirrel, and then the boat says,
Up goes the dinghy.
So Bradley Boatman Bendy Snack tries to swim for shore but gets pulled under. Then the water turns red because it's angry it had to be in this movie. And Schlurple Purple says,
Where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he go?
Where the hell hell do you think he went, you purple pillock? It's not like he jetted off to the fucking moon, did he? So they managed to make it back to the dock, but Squirrel's got a badly CGI'd leg wound. So they move her to the abandoned camp and try and make her splint for a leg. Wankor wants to leave her behind, though, because he's a phallus. And then Squirrel does this.
Because he's a phallus.
Whatever that thing was. If it needs a fresh body to feed on, I've opened yours.
Hey, let's not get crazy.
4 years in the Marines. A tour of Afghanistan. You want to see how crazy I can get?
Never thought I'd agree with Wankor, but I vote for leaving her. She's a dangerously unstable human being. But against their better judgment, they take her with them, and everyone continues to bitch and moan at each other as they try and find a way out of this place. I mean, this lot really are the most irritating bunch of idiots we've seen in these films. They're all supposed to be mates, but none of them get on with each other, and all they do is bloody complain and argue all the time. Man, we better see them all get eaten, or I'm going to be one disappointed bunny. And no one likes a disappointed bunny. So they find a building on the top of a hill, but instead of finding a boring old regular entrance, they decide instead to delve into this creepy, dank tunnel with a big old croc-sized hole in the gate. Bit of a red flag if you ask me, but they're all stupid as fuck, and I guess Squirrel's leg ain't going septic quick enough for their liking. Once they're inside, they decide to open a grate and use a rope to lower each other into the bowels of the facility. So John's Dick and Schlurple make it down, but when Wankor starts lowering Little Miss, the croc turns up, and he drops her.
Our lives are in your hands, and you have butterfingers?
Thankfully, the
and
drop
you
was
have
only about 12
butterfingers?
foot, and John's Dick's beard cushions her landing. In the upper tunnel, Squirrel shoots at the croc, which makes it back off. Then her, Willie and Wankor decide to head back to the dock so Willie can jack into some antenna so they can make a call to 911.
If he could do that, why didn't he do that
Hulu.
before, when they were at the dock?
Back in the tunnels, and Little Miss is somehow able to describe the croc to the others, despite not actually seeing the bloody thing. Then they explore the joint and find out that it's owned by a pharmaceutical company, because obviously a pharmaceutical company is behind everything. What is this, Resident Evil now? And I know, a pharmaceutical company with the baddies in Lake Placid vs Anaconda 2, but that movie was stupid on purpose. This one has no excuse. Schlurple then gives some pointless speech about big companies' lack of ethics and morality, blah blah, fucking blah. Because that's what the Lake Placid series was missing all along. Sod all the comedy, cheesiness and colourful characters. What this series needed is a red-hot reality injection, with a lecture on ethics and morality from an environmental activist. Oh, you couldn't make this shit up. Oh, except somebody did, and we got this piece of crap. Back to the others, and Wankor continues to cement himself as one of the most unlikable characters in the series.
Look, I never really liked you, Billy, but God made geeks for a reason.
Come on, movie, at the very least,
Komodo
let
hype,
this wanker come to
Komodo
a
hype,
grisly end.
Komodo hype, Komodo hype.
Wait, what happened?
At the very least, let this wanker come to a grisly end. So Willie and Squirrel take
Look
off into
like
the woods and
Jews.
just so happen to come across a communications building in a clearing. How convenient. Squirrel then tells Willie to go on without her, but he doesn't want to leave her, so she pulls a gun on him and says,
Run, or I'll shoot you myself.
"You don't have to tell me twice. Bye then, you psychotic bitch." So Willie legs it to the building and Squirrel pulls out a flare
Makes
and
a
starts
joke
goading the
equals
croc.
instant
Then all of a sudden
crocma.
she's in a tunnel. What? She was just in the woods. How the... Oh, it doesn't matter. The film then tries to give her a brave last stand against the beast, but she's been a psychopath for most of the movie, so why would we even care if she gets eaten? Anyway, she does, and once again it's off screen, because of course it is. Back to Little Miss, Schlurple and John's Dick, who after wandering around in the dark for longer than necessary run into Tosser. Yeah, I forgot he was in this movie too. So Tosser tells John's Dick that he smells like balls, but also that the job was just a setup, so he could beat them to it.
Beat them to what? What was the fucking job?
This is intolerable. It's unprofessional.
Anyway, they head upstairs and find some broken radio equipment, as well as Joe Pant. Oh no, Joe! Why are you in this mess? I reckon they kidnapped him and demanded a ransom of 500
Oh, it's Joe Pantoliano, aka Joey Pants.
Sherbet dibdabs, but no one was willing to pay it, so he just stuck around there. So apparently Pant works for the pharmaceutical company and broke the genetic code, whatever the hell that means, which allowed them to create giant crocodiles so they can use their DNA to create vaccines to save human lives and make a lot of money doing it. Right, so the exact same...
Oh, if you're wondering what my avatar is doing crumpling up like that, I'm holding my cat.
Well, buddy, I'm gonna head out. Hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Oh, well, the video's almost over with. But alright. You have a good evening too. Thanks for coming by.
Thing that Bad Lady was doing in Lake Placid versus Anaconda then? Could the
Let's
writer
see.
honestly not come up with anything else? In fact, you know what? Let's have a look and see who wrote this film. This movie had 3
See
writers?
you later, Zed, and be safe.
How can 3 people sit down in the same room and come up with the exact same motive for the villain as the previous film? I just...
Close call, but you too, buddy. And you too, BLK.
Anyway, all of a sudden Willie comes through on the intercom and says this about Squirrel.
See you at Zed Nunes 04 bye.
She threatened to kill you! So Willie says his 911 call managed to get out before it cut off. And if he can use the radio equipment to do it again, maybe some help will be able to find them. But then he sees something outside.
My brain
and
hurts.
Prepare yourselves, because I guarantee
He is raging.
you haven't seen this level of brain-shredding bullshit before. He looks through the window of the door and sees the croc's eye looking back at him. And then it bites his head off on the other side of the door.
What?
You know, I actually bought all the Lake Placid films on DVD for these reviews. But I didn't buy Lake Placid Legacy. And now I kind of wish I did. Because if I did, then I'd be able to take it outside and sledgehammer it into the grate beyond. While the others are distracted, sneaky old Pants slips out to try and trank the croc so he can eat it or something, and then starts to flood the facility so the others can't follow him. The others reach the flooding corridor and Schlurple says,
Now what do we do?
well, I don't know, maybe wade through the shin-deep water? As dangerous a task as it may be, they risk it and, against all odds, are absolutely fine. Then they pull open another floor grate to find an even more flooded section, and Tosser says they're going to have to swim to the other side because it's the only way out. So they swim for it, but somehow the croc manages to follow them. Then on the other side, John's soaking wet dick uses a live electric cable to zap the beast. Although he's holding onto a metal pipe, which leads into the water. So I'm pretty sure
He's also standing on a metal ladder that is sticking out of the water. He should have been electrocuted too.
would have been electrocuted too, but
yeah,
I'm not an electricity scientist, so what the hell do I know? So
an
they keep
electricity
running through some tunnels 'cause
scientist.
The croc isn't dead for some reason, until they come to yet another grate to go down. I've never seen a movie containing this many grates be so far from great. I tell you,
Logic.
it's really starting to grate on me. On their way down, however, Tosser gets snatched by the croc and we get...
I mean, at least in Deep Blue Sea, the lady stood on her rubber wetsuit to ground herself before she electrocuted the shark. Nope.
Get the only on-screen kill in the whole movie. And as you'd
Not
expect,
in this
it looks
movie.
fucking shit as fuck. The rest of them manage to find a way out, except it's blocked off by a big gate. And now the croc's outside.
What the fuck is that?
Is it teleporting now? Back to Panted, he finds the croc's den, but he's quickly bitten in half off screen because the croc is inside again now. The others think it's time to fight back against their scaly assailant, so they plan to lure it into this red room with a load of gas tanks and blow it up. Solid plan. Can't wait to see it go tits up. And tits up it goes, as John's dick stays behind with a gas mask on, intending to sacrifice himself and take the croc
My
with him.
thoughts
But when he goes
exactly
to light
about
the
this
flare,
franchise.
This happens. But there was a spark! The flare sparked! Why
Yeah!
did the gas not ignite? For God's sake. Oh, but then again, I'm no gas scientist, so what the hell do I know? So the croc kills John's dick off screen, as we all knew it would, and the sisters find a way outside pretty much right away, and the croc chases them to the construction site, where Little Miss acts as the bait, while Schlurple uses the digger. Called it. To pin the croc in place while they break open a fuel tank next to it and blow it up with a lighter. Then, because my poor little brain hasn't suffered enough, they make the sanity-severing decision to swim out of there to the other side of the lake. In the dark. Oh, and there's another giant croc close behind them. Go fuck yourself, Lake Placid Legacy. End of movie. Well, I can't believe it. We actually have a new champion when it comes to the worst Lake Placid movie. But not only that, Lake Placid Legacy is so awful that it's actually given me a newfound appreciation for Lake Placid 2 and 3. I mean, don't get me wrong, those are still really bad sequels, but at least they attempted to keep the same cheesy tone as the original, and actually tried to entertain the audience. Lake Placid Legacy feels like the creators had no intent to entertain at all. It's just a dull, passionless mess with a franchise name slapped on it. Or to sum it up short, it's shitter than shit wrapped in shit. And you know what? One day, I'm sure I'll rewatch all the previous Lake Placid films again. But this one,
I'd rather cut my dick off with a spoon.
Oh, by the way, I was being
Ouch.
sarcastic.
Well, duh.
That's probably copyrighted. Alright. Oh, it's late now. Damn, it's almost 8 p.m. So I'm gonna call it. That will be our last video.
Well, duh.
Well, duh. Alrighty. Well, guys. Hope y'all had fun watching these little videos with me for Saturday Chill Stream. Thanks for sticking around even despite our little technical difficulties. But, yeah. The YouTube and Discord links are on my Twitch page, and let me know if the Discord link ain't working. There's also a donate button. That's not necessary, but it is appreciated.
And I'm gonna start my stream.
Alrighty. I'm really tired. But yeah, I love you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next stream. Bye-bye.